Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Greetings. Welcome. Namaste. It's a very quiet ASMR kind of comic stream where we're just going to chill out and talk and feel good about each other and give each other the affirmations that they need. Hell with that. This is our show. Come on now. We're going to go live. We're going to talk comics. We're going to just talk about what's going on in the news today. And you are welcome to join us. Many of you have the link. If you don't have the link, by all means, ask me. If I know who you are, I'll make sure that you get the link and you can come in and talk. If I don't know who you are, the door's kind of iffy, so we might not do that. Meanwhile, we do have somebody already here to join us, Mr. Mike Walters from the Mic Stand. Mike, how are you today, sir?
All right. How about yourself?
You know, I'm still standing, and I'm not in the least bit feeling badly, so I'm doing well.
And everybody out there, Happy New Year! We're into 2022. So
are we already? Damn.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen you since last year.
Well, on the mic on the open mic night, anyways. I mean,
yeah,
obviously I've dropped in on a few of your streams, to like and share.
And you took a couple weeks off for the holidays.
People already in the chat. We have Miss Raina saying hello. We have Diana Levitch of Hero Shack.
Yeah.
And George.
Diana, did you all change your names? Because you went shorter on us there.
And then George Peter Gatz as well.
Who's getting a link right now as I type and speak. So yeah, it's, welcome to 2022. We've already got a couple of streams under our belt. And one of them, we'll talk about again here because it's we're going to be talking about it all month long. It is the month where Critical Blast has the voting for our best of 2021. Yes, we're going to make you think about last year again, just a little bit more, so we can vote. But it's cool because we're going to vote for the best movies, the best series, the best actors in those things, the best comics, including the writers and artists, and we're going to pick up our bombshell of the year. And every single one of those who wins in their category, we have always created physical awards that we mail out to the proper PR people. So it's a thing. This is metal. This is printed. This is ink on metal, and it will be engraved personally on the back to whomever wins it. This is our sample one, so it's been around here a little while. You know what?
Hey RJ, check out what Diana was saying down there.
Hey, Chris will be popping in for sure. Okay, you probably did.
What above it?
What is it? You probably did, but I am only stopping in for a few. I have a hot tub dip planned, but wanted to say hello. You got a hot tub? Yeah. Okay, so at this point, we want to announce that the Hero Shack folks are going to be leaving YouTube and moving over to Twitch, because I'm kidding, Diana. Because that's just what that's what Twitch streamers do. They get in the hot tub and then they stream from there. Oh, you did? No, never mind. They switched to Twitch. I'd rather fight than Twitch. But that's an old one. George, did you get that one?
No.
That was the old what was the old Camel cigarettes commercial? I'd rather fight than switch. Yeah, I'm old. When I'm older than George, it's showing.
It's not ringing a bell.
That was back when television could advertise for cigarette commercials.
Ah, the old TV. Yeah, no.
Yeah. You remember, that's where we used to watch shows before they streamed over the internet to us.
Yeah. I grew up in the 80s, so I remember a lot of the syndicated, cartoons in the mornings and the afternoon, usually from 6 to 9 in the morning and from like 3 to 5 in the afternoon, you catch, any number of your favorite like reruns or syndicated cartoons.
Yeah, absolutely. And and the remote control that my parents had was about 3 foot tall and had 2 legs. It was like, go change that thing to channel 4, and you walked over and you went boom, 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 and you twisted it until it was on 4.
It's kind of funny. My dad often talked about that too when I was like, he would often remind me as I got older.
It was fine if you were on like the standard dial, but when you went to UHF, that was the next dial up. You had to turn it to UHF, and you had to turn the second dial, and it had a dial behind it that you could like you were cracking the combination on a safe, like slowly tune it in. There it is. No, stop, too far back. And it was like, you move it a hair and it's gone. But then you could watch like UHF stuff that was coming in from New Mexico. It was just, and you were in St. Louis. It was just over the airwaves. George, I am so sorry that you're being blocked here. I have all these pictures of Vixen up here for no reason. So to make you a little bit more visible, I'm going to be saying goodbye to Vixen, like so many DC Comics readers are going to be doing.
What's wrong
I know you were telling me about that earlier. You want to tell everybody else what you were telling me about?
Oh, it's no big deal because it's totally in a non-canon comic book. But Vixen, supermodel Mary McCabe, who has dated hot guys throughout her entire career of being a supermodel, has decided that she's what really makes her heart palpitate is a dumpy disabled lesbian. So
so it's
different strokes.
It's just a comic book version of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. She's like draw me like one of your French models, Mary.
Well, I remember because one of the pictures you had up there was, of course, from the Justice League Unlimited cartoon that when we were talking about it earlier, in which Vixen, who was voiced by Gina Torres on that show, was dating John Stewart, Green Lantern, who was, of course, being voiced by Phil LaMarr. Phil LaMarr, who's, of course, over the past 20 years or so, has become pretty synonymous with a lot of.
Miss Rena asks a great question. Mari is a lesbian now. Why? Because T. Franklin wants her to be. Because T. Franklin gets to write her in the Harley Quinn Love, Kill, Death. I don't know. It's the animated series thing. But it's okay. It's okay because it's not canon. Because we all know that things that happen in the cartoon books where Harley Quinn is never, ever bleed over into the quote-unquote real canon of the DC universe where
mainstream
Harley Quinn now is.
DCU.
Yeah, because at one point, wasn't Harley Quinn just a cartoon character? Didn't have anything to do with the DC universe. But hey, guess what? So that happened. But yeah, so she not only is walking out of it's not a club. I think she did a walk there, a fashion show, because in case you missed it, she's a supermodel.
Wasn't there a comic book Modeled by Night or Modeled by Day? It was a supermodel by day and a superhero by night, and she always wore bikinis and
I do remember that. There was an indie book. I can't remember who did it. You know what? There was also Hellcat, who her secret identity was Patsy Walker model, because for the longest time she was Patsy Walker model for years in her own comic, and then they gave her superpowers and brought her into the stand-up Marvel universe.
Yeah, wasn't she more like a gag on Archie originally?
She was very much she was a girls comic because it was Patsy Walker and Hetty, whose last name I can't remember, but that was like her frenemy that they would do. That it was like a Betty and Veronica kind of thing. So But anyway, Miss Rena, what happened is they're walking out and they get into the back of the cab, and her girlfriend now, who is, I'm going to count off the points here. She's BIPOC, she is lesbian, she is disabled. Did I hit them all there? Just three. Three's good enough.
So what you're saying is that they slipped on the kitchen tile floor, and one thing led to another.
Apparently.
Well. First, maybe what you should remind people of, just for those who may not know, what Vixen's power actually is, and then explain how she used that to.
Vixen wears an amulet around her neck, not unlike the Critical Blast magical amulet that I've got on now, and it allows her to. It's called the Tantu Totem. Yes, I've got my geek cred on, and it allows her to channel the abilities of any animal. Now, this is different from Animal Man, who can channel the abilities of any animal that's nearby. And it's different from Bwana Beast, who can take two animals and squish them together like some sort of chimera so that they have both their abilities together and do some really weird stuff, whatever is necessary to solve the battle at the time. But anyway, they get into the back of the cab, and Vixen summons up the abilities of a giraffe. Why? Because according to the wild-eyed, oh my God, my superhero girlfriend loves me, look, she's getting ready to have giraffe tongue cunnilingus.
Wait a minute. Are you saying she needed to clean out the ear wax that she had in her ears? Because that's what giraffes do with their long tongue. They clean up the wax that's in their ears.
Yeah. Now, never mind that, Vixen's powers don't physically alter her body to have these animal characteristics. She just, she gets strong as a bear. She gets fast as a cheetah. She can fly like a bird. I don't know. Do giraffes have tongue endurance or something?
Kind of like Brave Star.
Yeah. Eyes of the hawk, ears of the wolf.
Brave Star.
Yeah. Brave Star and Vixen would make a good pairing, but the thing is,
by the way, I'm Nick Rhetorical, and not attorney at law. By the way, just wanted to point everybody.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have some issue with Nick Ricada or something, George?
No. Just saying, I'm Nick Rhetorical.
Yeah, he's Nick Rhetorical. It's a pun. It's a parody. So we got Nick on the show tonight. Cool, that'll work. Anyway, I pointed out that, hey, look, Vixen's bumping uglies with a new person who looks not unlike the writer of the series. And the first thing I thought was, wow, how very much I'm Not Starfire, where, the new character of the book looked very much like the writer of the series. And boy, oh boy, did I upset some people. The only thing that got hurt were a couple of Twitter servers because they got more active than normal. I'm fine, largely because I'm still right. But
you know what's kind of funny about how you said that there, RJ. You almost get the impression that this particular writer that we're talking about almost seemed to incorporate her own personal wet dream.
It's called a self-insert. She got thicked.
Hence the title of tonight's open mic night.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. It's
open Twitter insert self.
Yeah.
Well, there seems to be a pattern of this, isn't it?
It definitely seems to be one.
These degenerates, if one would say that, or these people of whatever you want to call them, they happen to project their own fantasies or reality or realities.
Yeah, and Chris, that was Diana's job to remind you, not your phones. Don't rely on the phone.
Well,
you know what?
T. Franklin's not the only writer who's who's doing some real garbage.
No, but you know what? She is the only writer right now who has recently, as far as I can tell, rocketed up the progressive stack point totem pole and stands the good chance to top Vita Ayala off of it because she's a person of color. She is, I don't know if she's gay or bisexual. I could go into the Andrew Dice Clay explanation of that, but y'all get it. Doesn't matter. It's still a point. She's disabled. Her claim is autism and former sex worker, which apparently is a new point. Now that's 5. I don't think Vita's got 5. So, distracted boyfriend meme right there from Vita to T. And by the way, the character in the book is definitely not a self-insert because the character in the book, for one thing, she's literally in the book in panels before that, drawn into the audience by the artist. So it can't be that this character is a self-insert because there's the actual self-insert for those who want to make that argument and don't know the difference between a cameo and a self-insert. They're two totally different literary devices.
This writer, you said this writer has a resume of previous jobs.
Yeah, actually, she. In fact, that's the other argument is that this character, whose name is L, so definitely not T, it's L, is a throwback to another book she did called Bingo Love, where she was a character in that. To which I said, so she's self-inserted twice now.
Well, you almost have to argue that DC Comics could now, you could call it degeneracy comics. Because I was telling you about one other thing that was going on earlier when we were talking earlier today. Because I know Ethan Van Sciver did a video on this earlier today in which John Ridley, who I guess is one of the writers on Action Comics now.
Oh my God, yes.
He apparently has written a story in Action Comics in which this country somehow synthesized kryptonite to the point to where it didn't kill Superman, it just took away his powers for a temporary purpose, so that they could capture him, send him to prison, and basically make a female dog out of him.
Yeah, let's be clear. They off-panel prison raped Superman until Batman rescued him, because Daddy Batman always does that, right?
Wait. Is this bullshit or is this canon?
It is. What's the name of the book? Superman Red and Blue.
I think, yeah, because I know that I saw it via an Ethan Van Sciver video on it. It's like.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll find the panels. Y'all talk. I'll find the panels.
Still work. Well, we got some conversations going on.
We got a lot of people in the chat.
Yeah.
Active chat tonight.
Why is being a sex? Miss Rena is asking, why is being a sex worker considered oppressed? Because SJWs just want to try to find love division. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, it takes talent, sex worker. It takes talent,
I think being a sex worker is going to be essential if your writing's going to suck too.
Well, let's not forget that being a sex worker is considered the oldest occupation in the history of all time.
Of course.
No, that's not possible. The oldest occupation is hunting.
This is true. This is the second oldest occupation. You traded the food for what you really wanted.
Yeah.
Let me blow this up a bit here. Hey, I can actually do this. Maybe this will help. So this is the page, and this is, Superman has been captured. Here come the men with the spiraled baton and the obviously the cattle prod. He says, every day they would drag me into the interview room, in quotes. Every day they would restrain me in a way that left me exposed and vulnerable. And every day for 8 months, they did things to me. They did things to me while I was forced to look at him. Nikolai Kozlov, the commander of the Shevardnadze, the devil of Lubania, a man who single-handedly caused the deaths of thousands of people simply because no one cared to stop him. Eventually, with Batman's help, I escaped the camp. But in all these years, I've never been free of it. Okay, so...
All these years? I mean,
all these years, he's never been free of it. So...
When was this supposedly to happen? Because...
Who knows? DC's got a timeline that doesn't exist. It's painful. So this is...
I know Ethan was very, very upset about this, and I don't blame him, because basically they're, as he's saying it, they're destroying these characters to push their agenda.
No, I have to tell you, an opposing viewpoint. I'm very, very happy that they're destroying these characters. I'm thrilled. You know why?
Because it means that we'll be able to get our hands on them soon.
No, it means that they've reduced the competition.
Oh, I get it. From competition for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, if you're a comics publisher,
my competitor is destroying themselves. They're willfully reducing their money intake.
How did Sun Tzu
and what does Sun Tzu say? If your enemy is destroying himself, just step aside and let them take care of the
Yeah. Well, so Miss Reno was asking about how well, it was a synthetic form of kryptonite, which goes to show you that these people are pretty ignorant about Superman's history, because there is an actual form of kryptonite that can actually permanently take away his powers.
Yeah, that's gold.
That's gold kryptonite. Green kryptonite kills him. Red kryptonite alters his,
it's going to be different every time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just goes to show you, too, just how ignorant these people are. Because, I mean, why make synthetic? I mean, why only temporarily take away his powers if there's a form of kryptonite that
apparently, it was temporary in that his powers were taken away as long as he was exposed to it. So, it was there in the room the whole time. Otherwise, he would have, just waited it out and escaped. But he was there for
what I understand, gold kryptonite, if I remember correctly, gold kryptonite actually would have the effect of permanently,
it's permanent.
Once he's exposed to it, permanently taking away his powers.
Yeah, never get him back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about that for a moment. Think about that. Why would you make a form of kryptonite that weakens him only temporarily, when you had theoretically, if you were to go out and find gold kryptonite, that would take away his powers permanently. Well, I mean, if they really wanted it,
Gold kryptonite only existed in the Silver Age. So right now we're at a point where all we've got really is red and green. And secondly, maybe that's as good as they could get when they were working on it.
Well, it's red kryptonite is bullshit. It's the red sun that takes away his powers.
Yeah. And that's what pictures of red here, he might be under a red sunlight.
Or alters him with different effects. Among those effects include de-aging him, aging him,
turn him into a monkey.
Yeah.
He's
giving him
red kryptonite's a wild card. So 8 months. Obviously, it's not shown on the panel here because it's still Superman comics. This isn't Batman Damned, but it's very, very clear in the description what happened. But it's very, very not in the picture, so they can walk it back and say, "No, that's not what we meant at all."
It's more
very
implied.
Much like in the way when
even though he's saying it, they're more trying to imply that he was sodomized.
Yeah. That's like back in Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters.
What I would say, if they wrote this story in the Golden Age, when I cover my Golden Age, I would file this under, and this was written for kids.
Yeah. But it's not unlike, back in Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters, when Mike Grell wrote that three issue series, and then moved into the ongoing beyond that. Black Canary was kidnapped by bad people, and when Oliver found her, she was in chains and beaten up, and it was very much an implication there, especially with the aftermath, the PTSD, and she didn't want him to touch her. It was very much implied that she was raped, and it pissed a lot of people off that oh my God, Black Canary was raped, and they walked it back saying no, she was just tortured a lot. Raped.
Well, there's another story that goes back even further, back to the Golden Age, and I was telling you about this before the stream tonight, earlier when we were talking. I think it was in Flash Comic. It might have been 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. There was a story involving Hawkman. Now, back then, Flash Comics was an anthology title. Okay, that Flash Comics started up in 1940 for DC. There was a story, I think it was either in 6 and 7 or 7 and 8, in which Hawkman had teamed up with a federal agent by the name. Now, I'm just guessing at her first name here. Ione Craig.
Okay.
And now, Grant, I have not actually read this story. I've only read the synopsis on it. But it was somewhat implied in the story that Agent Craig had been captured by the bad guy they were going after, and it was I don't know if he actually did go through with it, but it was implied that there was some suggestion that the bad guy was going to rape Agent Craig in that story. And again, I haven't actually read the actual story. I've only read the synopsis, so but I probably will be reading that when we get there. But
you know what I'm looking at or I'm hearing right now?
What are you hearing?
In context of all this in the last couple of months?
I'm listening.
Excuse me. The last couple of months where they made so many characters gay in a short period of time.
Yes.
And now they're implying oral sex and rape. I think they're trying. I think DC Comics is trying to groom children into the pedophilia.
It's I don't know if they're trying to do that or not. I think that's a bold statement, but for one thing, kids is not their market.
Isn't the stuff? Is there any adult sticker on these books?
Oh hell no, there's not.
Okay, well then it's clear.
I'll allow it.
Well, even with my reference though to the Hawkman story, that was back in the Golden Age. Intense Webs was asking, "Are you everyone's mama?"
Yeah, he's trying to tell us to get our minds out of the gutter.
Huh?
He's telling us, get your minds out of the gutter. That's not really what happened. No, but he's kidding. He knows darn well that that's exactly what happened. Speaking of exactly what happened, I took the page down for just a moment so I could change the picture. In case everybody was wondering, is RJ on crack? This is the first of the images from. It's one of the images from the comic book that came out like last week. Not like this week last week, but last week. It's out for a while. And it's like here they are walking out of whatever it was they did. You were amazing tonight, Mari, as always. And it's thank you, Elle. And then into the cab. Driver, roll up the partition, please. And she's like, ooh, because she's summoning up this giraffe, and the giraffe's got its tongue hanging out here. Yeah, that's happening. And dang, they got a creepy looking driver because he's like looking out of the side of his eyes, like, I'll roll up the partition, but it's halfway up and I can still see through it. Yeah. DC Comics, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me. Okay. Here's a straightforward technical question. Forget about implications. Is there anywhere in the comic that it clearly says that this woman is a lesbian and they're about to have lesbian sex and she's using a giraffe tongue to do oral sex on her?
Well,
no. Like, is there anything that clearly states this action and intention?
I would actually have to buy the book, George, and I refuse to. But but I'm going with authoritative references made by Bleeding Cool, who say that it happened, and with the author who says that it happened. So
okay, yeah. So what I'm hearing is they say this outside the confines of the comic book. All this information is outside the confines of the comic book.
it's outside the panels. Yes.
No, not outside the panels. Outside the confines of the comic book. Nowhere in the comic book is any of this explicitly described, implied, or actually presented as clear intention. So so it sounds like it's an interview with the writer or the artist or whatever creative team that's on this, and they said, "Oh yeah, my intention in this panel is that they're having oral sex with a giraffe tongue."
I think it was pretty obvious, but
no. See, that doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Well,
see,
do you want open legs in the next panel, George? Is that it?
No. Here's an example. Here's an example. Okay. Superman punches Doomsday. Doomsday smashes into an apartment building. The apartment building falls to the ground and is destroyed.
Yes.
Now, let's look at it. That's in the comic book. That's in the context of the comic book. But when you actually read to talk to the writer and you ask the writer, so what happened to all the people in that apartment building? Are they dead? He goes, yeah. So that means Superman's actions directly, either directly or indirectly, killed all those people in the apartment building. Yes? He goes, yes, that's correct. Well, that means Superman is either a murderer or some level of a federal crime has been committed by Superman.
You would think.
Yeah, and the writer would say yes. But see, all this conversation is outside the confines of the comic book. See, it's not implied or presented in any way in the comic book. So when you read the comic book, it's not in your mind. You don't even think about it. But when you actually read the interview, then you go back to the comic book and then you see it from a different light, different perspective.
Well, let's presume that we're just looking at this picture right now. Why is the giraffe there? Is it going to fix her hair?
I don't care. It doesn't. It's irrelevant. They could have drew an orangutan or a chimpanzee or an insect.
Yeah, they could have. I mean, that's the thing about comics is that, you leave enough of it unsaid because you let the reader finish the thought in their head.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. They've purposely left it. So you're talking. What about a movie where you don't know what the ending is, and people walk out saying, "Hey, he could have done this and he could have done that."
Yes, Tony Soprano.
Like in the movie The Thing with the Kurt Russell. They don't tell you if the creature's alive or dead. They don't tell you if if Childs is the creature or not.
This is fair.
So it's up to you to make all that stuff up.
Yes,
and then
in the Superman book, we didn't see Superman with his pants down.
That's right.
We're not seeing her with her pants up.
That's right. But when you so in these two cases, the Superman thing and this here, and probably many other examples, you only see it in a different light when you actually have or see an interview outside the confines of the comic book, which then makes you think you want to go back and say, oh, so the writer said this, and now I'm seeing it in this light. So this is they're skirting the law.
Yes, they're making it so that they can walk it back if they need to.
Within the confines of the publication, they're skirting the law, or within the confines of the publication, but they're explicitly telling you outside the confines of the publication what their intention was. Well, you know what? At that point, it could be there could be bullshitting you. It could be just a marketing ploy to make people buy the book.
Well, it didn't make me buy it, but I think what they do, and I'm giving the editorial so much credit. They know what they can allude to, they know what they can communicate, and they know what they can show. And if they don't show what they're communicating clearly, that allows them to say, in 3 months' time, because that's how long it takes for this blowback to actually reach publication. Like, hey, yeah, that worked out well. It's sticking. Or, holy crap, that blew up. Explain away what really happened there. But what really happened was, no, explain away what really happened there, which wasn't the thing that really happened. Yes, we have a Russian.
On a little side note, RJ, I don't know if you saw this earlier in the chat, but I think we chased off Intense Webs. I don't think he cared for the line of conversation. Apparently,
no. Intense Web comes on. Yeah, he's right about one thing. We are banging our heads against the wall with this because
it is new. It is a news item. It is a news story, and
it is.
I was bringing up.
You're playing right into what they expected you to do, to talk about this, to come up with your own scenarios, which propagates the lie and the marketing.
Well, it's still considered a bit of a news story, even.
No, it's not a news story. This is 100% pure marketing. And you're thinking it's a news story, and your ego is telling you it's a news story, but it's not.
Presented as a news story, George.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not. It's a marketing ploy.
In your opinion, even if
it's not an opinion, it's a fact. It's a marketing ploy.
Opinion, you don't believe it's a news story. It's being presented.
You know the difference between a news story. You know the difference between a news story and a marketing gag. A news story, what we call, is without bias. This marketing ploy is heavily biased.
But it's still being presented.
It doesn't. From your
story.
That's
my point.
That's the perception that you have.
I'm just saying that it's.
You can say it all you want, but that's the perception that you have.
Even if you don't believe it is.
It's
not a belief. It's a fact.
It's a news story. It's still being presented as a news story.
Oh my God! There's a difference.
Yes, it's using the news. It's propaganda that says, "How can I get out? Let's use the news."
There you go.
And what we're doing is editorializing, because, you know what? You can't present a turd as an apple, but it's still a turd, Greg. You are correct. And as far as DC Comics goes, they're pretty much exemplifying what my grandfather used to say, which was, give people a choice of 3 shit sandwiches, they'll have a favorite.
Anyways, let's move on to something else aside.
Okay.
I think we talked about this stuff enough.
What else?
Well,
CT.
We do. There is one more big thing in pop culture news that happened a couple days ago: the passing of Betty White.
Oh my God! Yes, at 99.
Yeah.
She was
she was 100 just next week.
What an incredible woman, Mike. Do you have any detailed history on her?
Well, let's see. I know that she was known as a comedian. She had she's actually listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as having the longest career for a female in the entertainment history of, well, they say sometimes they call it, say it's 60 years. Sometimes they say it's across 8 decades.
Oh yeah.
Among her credits would include Sue Ann Nivens from Mary Tyler Moore and Rhoda, Rose Nyland from the Golden Girls. I know she had the show Hot in Cleveland a few years ago. She worked well. I mean, she was. Some people were saying she was still active, even pretty recently. You know?
She was. I saw her. you know how you find those like $5 DVD collections where it's like, it's not just a $5 DVD, but it's like a stack of crap from public domain stuff. George, your ears perk up there.
Yes.
We got one that was all like Christmas stuff, classic television Christmas stuff, including, commercials, episodes of the Bob Cummings show. And there was one called A Date with the Angels, and it was the Christmas episode. And it was, I don't even remember the husband's name, but the guy who played Mr. Angel, but Mrs. Angel was Betty White. And she was like 25 and, just young and vibrant. And what made it stick out in my head was that I was like, this thing's from like 1950 something. And there was this actor that you've all seen him, Burt Mustin. He always played an old man. He was like 100 years old on All in the Family. He was 100 years old on Andy Griffith. And, now we're going back to A Date with the Angels. And he's there as, I think he was Santa Claus, but he was 100 years old in 1950. I was like, this guy just was born old. Betty White was this beautiful little girl, and here's old man Mustin. He's just stayed old the rest of his life.
Well, and going back to the 50s, there was and this kind of came up because I know Yellow Flash did a video on this too. So back sometime in the 50s, she had a show that she herself produced called Life with Elizabeth. And one of the big stories that came out of from that was that at the time, because I guess Life with Elizabeth, I don't know if it was a variety show or something like that, but she had this African-American tap dancer on.
Yeah.
And the executives told her, no, you can't have this guy on TV. He's African-American. We can't have him on TV. And she basically told them, live with it. He's going to be on this show, and you're just going to have to live with it. And this part of it came out because one of the things that Flash is pointing out in his video, apparently there was this journalist after Betty White died. Well, they knew that she had the receipts, so they couldn't necessarily call, being that she was a old white lady, they couldn't sit there and call her racist or anything like that. So there was, I guess, this journalist who decided that, why couldn't it have been Queen Elizabeth? This American journalist who was basically saying, why couldn't it have been, instead of Betty White, why couldn't it have been Queen Elizabeth who died? Who's 95, by the way.
I'm assuming this journalist eventually got rid of their social media accounts.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just guessing, of course.
She got serious backlash for it. Apparently. But yeah, which just shows you how toxic some people can be, because I know one of the things Yellow Flash often talks about in some of his videos is how no matter who, because we know in the last couple weeks here, Betty White the other day, John Madden, whenever somebody dies, you've got that cadre of people who will come out and will try to find some negative thing to talk about. They can't honestly remember these people and just be happy that they lived a good life or a long life. No, they gotta find the most negative thing about their, like, if you guys remember with the whole John Madden story, with his passing, that one guy came out and accused him of basically, because of the Madden NFL games, having a digital plantation.
Yeah, that was the stupidest thing.
And he got railed for it, just like this lady who basically was wishing death on Queen Elizabeth got ratioed and railed for it.
Well, there's always somebody that says, why couldn't it have been this person? Somebody did that years ago with when Leonard Nimoy died. And she's like, why couldn't it have been William Shatner?
That's cute. I have to tell you about Betty White. The first time I became aware of Betty White, just aware of her, was Lake Placid, the movie.
When did that?
I don't know, but that was a great movie. It was about this huge crocodile in Lake Placid.
Oh yeah.
Remember
99.
that? Yeah. And she was the old lady that was feeding the crocodile full grown cows, right? and she was hard as nails, badass in that movie. I mean, really, really badass. Okay, and I go, this chick's awesome, and I looked her up, Betty White, and then I go, wait a minute, I've seen her before.
Seen her on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Hey, Chris is here.
I've seen her in younger form, right?
Hello, gentlemen.
And I never made the connection.
Oh, yeah. Well, also, you do know that she was a lifelong animal rights activist too. And one other interesting little trivia bit here too, because when I looked some of this up too. So from the four main Golden Girls cast members, Betty White, Bea Arthur, Rue McClanahan, Estelle Getty. Betty White was actually the oldest of the four actresses in that show and outlasted the other three by like 10 years. Like there was a point when 2008, 9, 10, they all passed away, and then she passed away just the other day.
Yeah. And wasn't the actress who played Sophia younger than all the other ones?
Actually, Rue McClanahan was the youngest of the four, but Estelle Getty, who played, Dorothy's mother in there, Estelle Getty was actually a year younger than Bea Arthur, and yet played her mother.
You know what movie information I discovered today that totally blew my mind? The Fast and the Furious, that's had all these films out.
Yeah.
It started out. It's a remake.
Oh, the Fast and Furious Vin Diesel movies?
Yeah, 1955.
Yeah. The Fast and Furious, the public domain movie. There's a lot of public domain movies that I haven't touched. Like Planet from Outer Space, Fast and Furious, and all that stuff. It's because they're easy. It's like everyone either has seen it or knows of it, and they would get bored stiff real quick. I'm looking for those fringe ones that people hardly are aware of.
Actually, one of the other things I was reading up too, when I was reading a bit about some of Betty White's work and stuff, I guess one of her more recent credits was a show, I guess that was produced by NBC, called Off Their Rockers, which was, which I guess was some kind of practical joke type show in which senior citizens would prank young people.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I remember that.
That was on for like a season or two.
Because there were some pretty spry old people on that show, and they would they just had these younger kids messed up.
Well, Betty White was pretty spry herself.
Oh yeah, she was.
Now, one other thing I remember. Now, granted, I know maybe not a lot of people want to talk as much about this aspect of it, but I do know in the last few years here too, people have called her a sex symbol as an old lady. I know people don't necessarily. That's been out there, but I know it's something that maybe not a lot of people want to necessarily talk about. But
that goes back to her days on the Mary Tyler Moore show, because that was her.
So what you're saying is Betty White's not a MILF; she's a GILF.
She's a GILF.
Some people made that argument. Yeah.
Yeah. You changed the M to M as in mom to G
Mother,
as in grandma.
To grandma.
Yeah. Because that was Sue Ann's whole role on the Mary Tyler Moore show was she was basically the Blanche, the Golden Girls Blanche on the Mary Tyler Moore show. She was out there and hunting and wanting men.
Well, Woody's telling me that I'll understand when I get. I don't know what he means by understand, but
when you get older, Betty White will look good.
Yes.
RJ,
I see it. I don't care.
Yeah.
You shouldn't care either.
Yeah, I know. I mean, because I think most people know that I'm not that type of person. So.
Oh, that's TJ, son of Jarrell.
Oh, I don't know. Who's TJ?
He's a dude.
Okay. Is he's a dude playing a dude who's playing another dude?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
Got it. Totally got it. John De La Rosa in the chat. Hello, John. Welcome. So what else is going on? Because I've been wanting to buy comics, and I've been buying comics. I've gone to the comic store again, and I've actually gave them money for pamphlets that I walk out with, but they were all printed in 1970. Or ish.
It's tough to bring that money out of your pocket these days when you know what's going on. It's like,
Yeah. It's real easy to leave it in your pocket. And here's the thing: it's hard to get a customer. It's easy to lose one, and the thing is that DC is now in the position where they can claim whatever they want in sales, because there's no accountability of the numbers anymore since they left Diamond. Lunar doesn't report what the sales are. If you go to Comic-Con, you can see the Marvel numbers. You can see the DC ranking, but you can't see the DC sales numbers. DC says, we're going back to print because we sold so many. How many did you sell? A lot. Enough to go back to print.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You know, this whole Diamond thing, reporting the numbers and whatnot.
Yep.
If I was a corporation, I'd tell them to cut that shit out immediately. It's not no one's business regarding my distribution numbers and all that stuff. Unless I release that information, it's no one's business in the chain of my production umbrella production, meaning publication, distribution, all that stuff, to release anything without my approval. That's just pure corporate, speak right
now. George is on fire tonight. I have to tell you, that's why I wanted to come on, because George has been speaking some truth like moonshine out of the South.
Sometimes I have to. Sometimes I feel like I've got to wait. It's like, okay, let this soak in. I'm disagreeing, but I think I should be agreeing, but I don't know why I should be agreeing, because George is like Yoda. It sometimes takes me a while to get through the syntax, but there's wisdom all the time in what's being said. So.
I came on after you guys, when you guys were kind of arguing, and really I was trying to come on at that point, but I just wanted to say something in relation to that without getting into it. Everything we put into entertainment, particularly aimed at children, is aimed at grooming them in some way. Even in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, we were trying to groom kids to be good citizens, have good morals, try to take care of each other, try to take care of the lesser. And the problem we're seeing now is that that's not what they're trying to do anymore. So when George made that very bold statement that I won't repeat out of respect for everybody, I was like, he's right. Because what we're putting in our stuff is what we're saying to the kids, hey, aspire to be. And I don't know, maybe I'm old fashioned, but I'm still down with the old books. I'm not down with the new agenda.
No, me neither. And something was said earlier, and it's, we kind of glossed over and let it go, but it's never the fact, and it's not the fact that Son of Superman is bi anymore. It's not the fact that Tim Drake is bi, but for which, by the way, I made an argument online on the stream that said I support this decision, because if all the characters I could do it to, Tim Drake was lined up to do just that. Mr. Hop, hello, sir.
Wow.
We're really packing it in tonight, RJ.
We are, which means we're just going to have more and more conversation, which is good. But it's the fact that Superman's son came out as bi, Tim Drake came out as bi, Harley Quinn came out as bi gay for Poison Ivy, who's bi gay. Now Vixen is bi gay. We don't know. It's just bi is easy because you can always turn it back off if you want to. For a character, not for real life people. Talking about fictional characters.
If JD is still in the chat, DC
Comics.
If JJ is still in the chat, he on his channel, he did quite a few profound videos on all this, where he lays out the degeneracy of the concept of what's going on, and also Ethan Van Sciver has pointed out that the reason why we're getting so many characters being flipped over to gay, so to speak, is because there's a government incentive for money.
Yeah, which is why it's happening. We don't care that any one of them happened. We care that they all happened. They all happened in like a season. It was just this rapid turnover. It felt like it's like being plunged down your throat with a plunger.
In a blink of an eye.
Yeah. Or as the man says, slowly at first and then all at once.
Yeah, well, I think the reason why it happened all so quickly is because everything happened within the same cycle of paperwork being approved and money exchanging hands. Submission, application, and money eventually exchanging hands through approval process and whatnot. So that's why everything flipped so quickly.
Yeah, and you know what? There's more to come. I guarantee it.
Phrasing. Yeah, but you know what's great though, if you know really the cycle of history, as big as it is right now, everything's gonna slam back the other way eventually. It's like watching a rubber band get wound up and wound up and wound up and wound up. Eventually that's gonna pop.
The pendulum effect. I know Glenn Beck has talked about that before too.
And I admit it's crazier than it's ever been, but it's going to get even crazier the other way, which kind of scares me even more, because if there's anything worse than a wide open society, it's a society controlled by a very narrow, harsh, reality.
Whenever it, as hard as the pendulum swings one way, it, builds up that momentum and swings right back as hard the other way.
Oh yeah. And
nobody grabs it in the middle and says, stop and stay there.
Yep.
JD says in the chat, the Daily Wire quoted him. Yes, it did actually, and that was actually a big moment, because the Daily Wire is a huge reach, and they had their eyes set on this stuff, basically on the ground, looking at what's going on from the ground up.
So here's a really quick question. Here's a really quick question. For how long, guys think this is going to last for?
Oh, I thought it was going to be over by now, so I don't know. That's another scary thing.
Oh, there's more to come. Is that what you're asking, Mr. Hop?
That's exactly what I'm asking. Because the thing is that how long is this trying to last for?
Oh, that's easy. I can't give you the answer with 100% surety. It's
okay.
When the money runs out.
Is there a deadline?
No, when the money runs out. I don't know when that is, but the moment the money runs out, you'll see everything flip.
Superman.
Why? Because at that point, they're not getting government subsidies to support their agenda, which means they either shut down their business or cater to people who want to buy comics.
Gotcha. That makes total sense. So I do have a quick burning question for the panel this evening. Remember last time we all got together and we came across that one X-Men comic where Chicky Poo with the antlers stabbed the guy in the neck with the scissors?
X-Men Green.
Exactly. Does anyone have the final sales count on that particular issue? Because I am very curious to know exactly how many issues that sold.
Well,
if possible,
it only sold digitally, as far as I know. It was never printed.
So it's not a hard copy. Interesting,
right? And they never can give you numbers on the digital because that's
exactly. We sold so many hard copies. Really? No, not really. It's a digital book. Oh,
yeah. We only sold 300 hard copies, but the digital market, how many did you sell there?
My God. We sold thousands and thousands. This number one seller. Really?
I hype my books that way. Come on, man. I have like super low distribution, and people ask how my books are doing. I'm selling lots of them. Why is DC having to do the same thing?
Guys, don't you remember when McFarlane was putting out Spawn, the cartoon series? You know what their marketing was?
No
The
idea.
the number one cartoon in that time slot. Do you remember? Do you remember what the time slot was? 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock in the morning.
1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was the number one cartoon.
Cartoon. There you go. There you go. Look at that. Amazing.
This
Hey,
is the
Diane.
comic I'll be reading.
Yeah, if Diane is still listening, there might be some sort of tagline for a one-eyed superhero, the number one-eyed superhero in the world. I don't know.
Best superhero with no depth perception on the planet.
Yes, that's actually coming into play.
I would like to interject something here. I'd like to ask Mr. Hop, how are you doing now?
My goodness gracious, Mike. Thank you very much for asking. I am doing a lot better. As the old saying goes, I'm not out of the woods, but I'm not in the middle of it anymore. Winston Churchill also stated that if you're going through hell, keep going. So, oh, hey, nice background. Dig that. And basically, the thing is that I had a great Christmas. I had a fantastic New Year's. And just being here today is absolutely fantastic all around. I really appreciate RJ sending me the invite link. Thank you, RJ. And with that being said,
I was going to say at the beginning, but
you're doing better.
Time, yeah, no, I get it, RJ. Honestly, it's totally cool, no problem. How's everyone else's set of holidays? I hope they've been treating you well and fine.
Oh yeah, my day was like every other Sunday. I went to donate blood. It's called a donation, but they pay you for your time.
Oh, that's great. Every time I go to the blood bank to donate blood, they always ask me the word questions such as, "Where did the blood come from? Why is the blood in a bucket?" You know, just all these really questions.
Yeah, exactly.
But very intrusive, like Facebook.
This place here, I go in, I scan in with my thumbprint, and they get me on a couch eventually, and they scan my card. At which point I've been paid, and then they jab me with the needle. Well, here's basically how the rule works. Once they've stuck you, they're stuck with you.
There you go.
So they put the needle in today. I got there at 10:30. It's an hour drive to get there. They put the needle in. As soon as they got it in, her glove caught it, ripped it right out, and I'm like,
"Oh Jesus! Oh, ow! Stop!"
It didn't hurt. It was a smooth pullout. But her boss came over, wrapped me up, said, "Well, let's go into your left arm." I was like, "Yeah, fine. It used to work great over there until it got like a hand-sized bruise there the last time I did it." And she's like, tapping and pumping my arm and tapping and tapping. She said, "You ain't got nothing there to hook into." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I don't know what happened. You took it out the last time or something."
With
like,
your whole
well,
story.
we're gonna call it a day. I'm like, easiest $100 I ever made.
With
I
your whole
myself,
story.
I'm
Second. RJ, with the story you just told, I swore you were basically describing the next DC comic. The needle just slipped out. There we go. The other arm. And things were fine. I got a bruise, but
I got no bruises today. I just didn't deliver any blood other than what landed on the couch.
I'm telling you, just hold off, for more money.
Yeah.
Red Cross is no longer accepting blood donations from people who have the shot.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I have to fill out a screen, answer questions on a little screen every time I go in. And one of the questions is, have you had a vaccination or an experimental vaccination since your last visit? And I would say no.
From Dr. Connors.
Well, I myself am coming off a 2-week break from doing the mic stand. Just, got to the point where I was really running myself ragged there and just needed to take a couple weeks off. But I'll be starting back.
Well, you broadcast every week.
Yeah. Well,
Every
5
night.
5 days.
Every day, yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Exactly. There you go.
So I'll be starting up again tomorrow. The mic stand will be coming back.
Gotcha.
Let's see. So with the history segments, of course, 1942 will be the starting point for the comic and animation portions, 52 for the wrestling portion of the history segment, and then 62 for the anime. Those are the starting points.
Gotcha.
Also, of course, on Fridays we're getting back into doing the historical comic retrospect, And I know everybody's been asking. I know people are wondering, well, Mike, when are you going to get to 1939? When are you going to get to 1939? Well, I can tell you with some certainty that I should probably be starting to get into 1939 probably by May.
Gotcha.
We're finishing out the rest of 38 here. Over the next 6 weeks here, through until the mid-February, we'll be covering comics that went on sale in September of 38. With, of course, DC this Friday we're covering, in which one of the stories I'll be covering is the Crimson Avengers debut, blockbuster from Detective Comics, Volume 1, number 20. So that's pretty much what's going on with me, at least. With
I agree. Was your Christmas and New Year's good? And your hair's really poofy, by the way. Goodness.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, RJ and I were talking about that. I know there are a lot of people out there who are kind of
like mine.
Yeah. I mean, basically, Christmas, New Year's are pretty much just another day.
All right.
I dropped in to say hi to RJ yesterday morning when he was, during his stream then.
Yeah. RJ's been working hard.
Yeah, I also dropped in on Pops on his last open mic on his last CromCon. We had he, myself, and one of the other panelists were having an interesting conversation. Learned something new. Learned a little bit about Nidor, aka Standard, aka Pines, aka Better.
They changed names a lot back then.
Yeah. Well, remember, Marvel started out as Timely back then. It's kind of funny because as we look ahead, as I'll be getting into my coverage, as I said later this year into 1939, a lot of stuff was happening in 1939. Just from DC itself, you had All American Comics debuting, in which a few features from Dell Comics had transplanted over to DC, including Squibbly, which was eventually used to introduce the Golden Age Red Tornado. Of course, 1939 was also the year Batman debuted in Detective Comics Volume 1, number 27. Superman would get his own quarterly title. Also, I know of at least two other comic book companies that will be, as we were just talking about, Marvel as Timely and Standard will be making their debuts in 1939. So there's a number of stuff going on. The 39 seemed to be a major year of expansion because aside from having, a number of, we're adding more books. I think by the end of the year, Quality had I know they had at least 2, if not 3. As I think Smash, I don't remember the exact order, but I think in between 39 and 40, I know Smash and Crack Comics started publishing. One of them, I think, at least one of them started in 39.
I was thinking about you the other day, Mike, when I had our first guest of the year on, Austin Huff was on, and he was going over his book, The Masters, which is on Kickstarter right now. And he basically he's huge into Mego. I mean, he's making these Mego figures, which, by the way, are a add-on to his campaign, Mego figures of his villains. But he was actually shopping it to DC Comics as this villain story for like a Bronze Age love story.
He was a DC artist about the Bronze Age right? Because I think I did catch some of that.
Yeah, but here's the thing: he when DC fired Didio and everything was up in the air and all the staff was gone, he didn't have that in anymore. So he replaced all the DC characters with Golden Age open market characters, like the Black Owl. So he was showing up these original covers of the Black Owl and the original Plymo, and I'm like, who'd really get into this? Mike Walters would get into this.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard that part, but I did stop in on that stream. I did hear some of that. So.
Yeah, we were there for 2.5 hours, and he still didn't show it. Okay, Chris, here's the way his campaign's going, man. He's got 5 issues in this miniseries, this first series that he's doing, because it's going to be a branch out. He's got teams of artists, all these Bronze Age DC and Marvel artists like Al Milgrom, like Pat Broderick. Wow. Names, all of them named Bart Sears. They're all doing their own chapter and covers. They're all doing them in parallel. So,
goodness.
He said, we're crowdfunding number 1. Number 4 is almost done.
That's cool.
So there'll be a crowdfund for each one of them. But, by the time you get to 5, 5 will have been done by the time crowdfund for 3 is finished up. But he was showing me all the stuff that he's doing. It's Power Comics. It's named after Power Records. And he's going to do a Power record of the book, which is going to be a tier on one of the campaigns. He's showing me the cover for the LP.
Like an audio book or something like that?
Yeah, a record. Yeah. They used to do 33 1/3 RPM records.
I have a lot of them. I have a lot of them. The one that really comes to mind, there's 2 of them: Superman and one of the Kandorians coming out of the bottle, and he's trying to do Kandorian justice on the Earth. And the other one is Dracula stuck in a frozen mountain cave.
Yeah,
with one of the Van Helsings. Right?
That sounds interesting.
The sound, the music, everything. It's absolutely fantastic. It's beautifully produced.
Cool.
He's got a ton of stuff on it. Like I said, he's got Mego figures, and we're talking. George, he did 3D sculpts of the Mego heads, and he's getting actual Mego bodies to make these things. They're going to come in a box. They're going to look like brand new characters, and he's been doing that for years.
Nice.
It might be interesting to see what he would do with Black X and the Clock.
If they're open, he might just throw them in. But he was looking for
the Clock. We know is open because we've talked about the Clock before. Clock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I mean, as far as it's his universe, because he was like directly paralleling the DC heroes. He had to substitute Black Owl for Batman. He had to substitute Plymo for Plastic Man, and Plymo is apparently the world's the first stretchy hero in comics. And that's when I was like, "There's trivia that Mike wants to know." He got a precursor to Red Tornado. Called Twister, who was apparently this is how it worked in the Golden Age.
Red Tornado, because there's a robot one from Tio Morrow, but there's also the Golden Age one, Ma Hunkel, which I was just referencing a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah, that one. But this one, it's in true Golden Age fashion. This kid was sucked up by a tornado. And then came back 20 years later with tornado powers.
Are you saying he was bit by a radioactive tornado?
Pretty much. Pretty much. That's awesome. This is the same era that gave us Dynamite Thor, which was a guy who worked with dynamite so long that he became immune to it. So he could fly by throwing sticks of dynamite behind him and riding the explosion wave.
So this is the first jump rocket.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or rocket jump.
Okay, so a quick question for George. How was your Christmas and New Year's? Was it good?
It was quiet.
It was quiet. Gotcha.
I had too much pent-up frustration. That's why I'm here. I'm
here
to exercise my demons.
Okay. Well, I had to open my last bottle of beer. That's how that's just how awful. That's how great this weekend's been going. Actually,
I got a little bit of bourbon on this end here. So hey.
Miss Rena,
bring it in here. Cheers.
I want to respond to real quick here. Yeah, Miss Rena, I saw that you're saying Golden Age cons were weird as hell. You might want to check out my Friday streams because I'm actually going through the Golden Age comics. Looking back and making some like comparisons to like how we think today and stuff like that. So you might want to check that out.
If you can get like super speed by breathing the fumes from heavy water. Go for it.
Yep.
But yeah, this is my last bottle of beer. I tried to buy one today, and they stopped me at the counter and said, "Sir, we don't sell beer on Sundays." It's like,
then you go to another place.
Why?
No, wait a minute. Did you say you don't identify as a Sunday?
Well, yeah, I identify as a 5-day week person. This is my Tuesday.
There you go. Yeah, they're infringing. They're infringing on your ideology rights.
Exactly. Well, apparently, God told them they can't do it on Sunday. Every other day of the week is fine, but Sunday, store can stay open. You can sell everything but the beer.
It's like having a curfew in Montreal. Why does the virus have to come out after 10 o'clock at night? No one really knows.
Oh,
it's one of those things.
Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear the near virus? It's called the flu-rona.
Oh. The flu-rona. No, I'm not.
Flu-rona? No.
What does this consist of?
It consists of the flu and the coronavirus.
Awesome.
My flu-rona. I have a question for Chris.
Yes.
I had an email from you today.
Yes.
By the way, Chris has contributed an article to our website now. The his review of the Matrix Resurrections is up. I tagged you on Twitter with it, so I hope you saw it.
Okay. How did you like it?
I saw the email name. Now I'm seeing Diana in the chat. Did you all go to immigration or something and get that last name changed? Because I just trained my tongue how to say Tamulovich, and now it's Levitch.
So long story short,
short.
Yes, back in the early 2000s when I first started on the internet, I had the great idea to hide my identity by clipping off the TAMU and just going with Levitch. By the time I met my wife, she could spell the name, so that was one of the reasons that I married her, because that was part of the test. But she adopted the .levitch thing on Gmail, so that's just, it's always been around. And it's kind of funny because when she first told her family, because she lived in Mass, I lived in Florida when we fell in love, so she told her family about me, and they went searching for me, and they're like, he's a freaking shadow. We can't find anything on a Christopher Levitch anywhere. He's a bad man, and I already had a bad rep at the family.
Something to hide.
Yeah, they're like, he's a spy or some shit, you know.
He can't marry my daughter.
Yeah. There was a lot of concern because they had no idea what my name really was, and they didn't want to tell her, we're looking up your boyfriend before you get involved. And they're like,
yeah, exactly.
There is no Christopher Levitch anywhere. So yeah, that's the story behind the email.
we can't find the Levitch line in Ancestry. What is this?
Ooh, there can
only be in third grade before you could spell it?
No, but I can tell you, kindergarten, they made you do your full name. My full name with middle name is much, much longer. I ended up on two sides of the sheet because it was those double lines with the dots in the middle.
Yes.
So Christopher plus my middle name plus Tamulevich. It was like, wow, that's a long name.
So do you think they were trying to get Levitch on you to blackmail you?
Oh, in the end, yes. But yeah, that's how we came about it. I thought it was really cool at the time because, it's the internet. It's so dangerous. So I just create, hey, I'm Levitch. Okay. I used to try to say it was French, but nobody bought it.
It's Levy. Hey, where's Greg? You could say that was the anglicization of Levitra.
Yes, I should have. I still could. Yeah, I might do that.
Hey, Chris, do you have a piece of artwork that you might be able to show us here? One that you tweeted at me.
Actually, I don't, but I can track it down real quick. I'm not set up for anything smooth tonight.
Then don't worry about it.
No, I can find it real quick.
The internet might cut itself.
I've been adding subscribers lately. I think I'm now going to be up to 137 here. Miss Rena just subscribed to my channel, so I thank you for that, Miss Rena.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So Chris, before
I'll be at 137 now, so I think that's my high right now. 137. Cool. That's the most subscribers I've had.
Always glad to see people getting more and more subscribers.
That's awesome. So, Chris, before my manners go completely out the window and I'm 6 shades to the wind, how was your Christmas and your New Year's? Holidays going well?
It was a real blessing. I got to tell you, it wasn't really Christmas or New Year's because now my wife and I have gotten to the point where, the kids are just all adults. And it's like gift cards and yeah. Well, it's okay because it was a mellow
they
grow
up, they have opinions and other stuff like that,
right? But I know that we're looking forward to next year because we know we have a grandchild on the way who will be born by Christmas.
Congratulations!
Thank
That's
you.
awesome news.
And I told my other kids, if they get busy by February, they can bring one in by Christmas too and get in on the fun because I haven't had
pressure.
a kid to spoil, since for 15 years since our kids grew up. They're all about 30 now, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna go down to Fisher Price and look at every stupid ABC toy they have that the kids won't care about. But
it's that time in your life when you can go hang out in the toy aisle again and nobody looks at you weird.
Hey Chris, we should really hit you up with Batgoat. Batgoat's another happy grandfather who's like just doting on his grandson as well. I think you two could have some very interesting granddad talks.
Well, mine's not yet born. Mine is coming. I believe its due date is being delivered July.
It's being delivered by the care of Amazon.
Yeah, well,
you have a tracking number.
The Amazon store, you mean?
Hey, we got a Prime membership. That baby's gonna be just fine.
And remember, you gotta click on the right ones because if you're not careful, you pay for shipping if it's defective. So that could be even more complicated moving forward. And also, RJ, going down the toy aisle in a wheelchair is quite the eye-raising experience as well.
Oh, yeah. Can somebody reach that Spider-Man for me?
Exactly. I can't reach
July. According to Diana, it's July.
It's July, yes. Okay, cool.
So shipping comes through July. Gotcha.
But it's like just such a cool feeling. And it verifies that I'll be dead sooner rather than later. But I'm happy with that. I'm getting into that next chapter.
Awesome.
And yes,
I always throw a dark shadow.
Does help sell books. Clowning around helps sell books. It helps sell frog books, and it should help sell one-eyed, two-armed, flying. No, he's not flying.
He's not flying.
He's not purple, and he doesn't eat people.
I do think I need to point out, since you're showing issue 2 there, issue 3 is almost fulfilled, and issue 4 is on the table. So I'm excited. It's gonna get kind of cool. I'm very interested in seeing how you guys deal with the twists in the story. But that's all I can say because
all my stuff stacks up, and I just got through last night, or was the night before, with Cluster Fudge 2. So,
yeah,
RJ, what's around your neck?
This is the Critical Blast medallion. You missed it because
I did
at criticalblast.com right now, and I'm going to share the page and the link. We are now taking the votes on the nominees for the best of 2021, and this is the unengraved version of the medallion that all our winners get. This is metal. This is color ink on metal.
That is very, very metal, as the kids say.
Indeed. But
sorry, Chris, interrupt you. Apologize.
I'm going to bring the web page up.
And while he's doing that, hey Diana, you're more than welcome to join us in here if you'd like. I know you probably want to correct Chris on a number of things.
Look at that Matrix Resurrections article. Look at that.
Hey. So I think I have to say, though, Diana's in the bathtub. If she comes on, we're all in trouble, I'm sure.
Super chats galore.
She did mention that earlier.
Yeah. Super chat time. Remember people who are watching this wonderful broadcast.
The bathtub.
Well, here's the even funnier thing.
Bathtub's okay.
Because naturally she could do it if I wasn't so sure that she would mess up and have the camera all wrong. She could do it on her phone, everybody, you could just turn off the camera, but it's an iPhone, so I'm sure it would get all screwy with StreamYard.
Oh yeah. Yeah, more than likely.
So
this is the article,
to the page. This is the article, which is basically a web form. Yeah, Diana, he did mean hot tub. He said tub. We all got an entire different picture in our heads. And suddenly I was watching the Dick Van Dyke Show with Mary Tyler Moore with her toe stuck up the faucet again. Sexiest episode of television in decades, and you never saw a thing because she was off screen the time, but you saw it in your head.
Oh goodness!
Best of 2021. So this our list. Should I make this a little bigger? I'll make it a little bigger.
Hello.
I've actually taken that survey. I've casted my votes.
You have spoken in this matter.
Will make
Yes.
What did I do?
No, I'm excited though. So how long does it go for?
Through the end of January.
End of January. Cool. Very, very cool.
So it's a month long, and then in February it all gets tabulated. So the I'm already logged in, but I'm not voting. I could. There's no reason why I could vote. It's not like I'm getting an award for it.
You should have at least
best
one
film
vote.
categories we have. I should vote for something.
Yeah.
But I can't tell anybody what it is because I know 90% of the people who have best comics up here. So I could miff some emotions there. Best films: Black Widow, Dune. These are in alphabetical order, by the way. So there's no.
Thank God.
Finch, Free Guy, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Godzilla vs. Last Night in Soho, No Time to Die, Nobody, Pig, Red Notice, Spider No Way Home, The Suicide Squad, The Tomorrow War, and Venom Let There Be Carnage. Those are the nominees for the best movies. Best series, I hate this category. I never know what to call it. I used to call it best TV show.
All right.
And now we like streaming everything. And I was like, well, we stream movies, and I still put the streaming movies in the movies category, but now I just call it best series because it could be broadcast television, it could be streaming something or other. But can't call it a TV show.
Good call
on a TV, right?
No, yeah. Right. Yeah, you got it.
Okay. So best series nominees are Alex Rider, Arcane, Hawkeye, Jupiter Legacy, Loki, Lupin, Midnight Mass, Only Murders in the Building, Squid Game, Stargirl, Super
biased.
Ted Lasso, The Nevers, WandaVision, and Why the Lamb. So,
I'm surprised you don't have the new Dexter series there. That is awesome.
Hello, Stu.
do you see right underneath Last Man, just like on all the other ones, we have other. So if there's something that you feel should have been on the list and wasn't,
yes,
we write-in candidates do get counted.
I am
Best
glad you put
actor.
that option in there. Perfect.
Yes, for all of them except our cosplayers. God, this thing keeps down on me. I'm going to tell my advertising company to stop doing their thing if they keep my pages.
There you go.
it's a live mic, honey.
Yeah, but tell them that they're in the middle of something.
I know. I'm just letting you know the mic is live.
Oh. Hello?
Good evening. Hello. Welcome to the
Hello.
show.
Hi.
Excuse
Hello.
me.
Can you just reach into your wallets and
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Send super chat.
Listen, I just wanted to. I've been listening to your chat in the hot tub, and I've been making comments, and I've never laughed so hard in my life. You guys were killing it tonight, and I just wanted to say that I'm going to bed, but you guys keep it up because this is one of the funniest and best chats I've been in a long time. Kudos to everybody on the panel and to
Thank you
RJ,
very
especially for hosting it.
It's getting a lot less fun now that you leave it.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
We work twice as hard to make it just as more fun.
So you guys
if I
have
can
fun
keep
and I'll
the
catch
page.
up later.
Happy New
Bye.
Year's.
All right, Dana, we'll see you. So
Sorry,
if I can
guys.
keep the page going, we're on the best film actors. Andrew Garfield for Spider-Man Home, probably his best Spider-Man performance to date.
I would agree with that. Yes.
I think he did better there than he did in his other two movies where he was the headliner.
I know. the Garfield story. There we go.
Yeah. Can you crawl around on the ceiling? No. Can you get
No.
that? She wants you to get that cobweb in the corner.
Oh, fine.
Anya Taylor-Joy for Last Night in Soho. Bob Odenkirk for not coming back and giving us another season of Better Call Saul. I mean, nobody. Damn it! Stupid. It refreshes that stupid ad down there and takes me to it. And it should not do that. I hate my own site.
Welcome to live broadcasting.
Yes. Bob Odenkirk, Chris Pratt, The Tomorrow War, John Cena, The Suicide Squad, McKenna Grace, Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I'm sorry,
Ryan
John
Reynolds
Cena.
for Free Guy and Red Notice.
I couldn't see John Cena there. What was he nominated? What?
The Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad.
I was
The
making a
Suicide
bad
Squad.
joke that's not landing properly. I apologize to everyone who's watching in our panel as well.
If I were smart, I would come back here and replace it with a black square. I would.
There you go.
Tom Hanks for Finch. And
All right.
I'm predicting this one's going to be the winner now. Going out on a limb, just saying it right up front. I think Willem Dafoe is going to win Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe did an awesome job, like above and beyond. Plus, on top of that, he did all of his own stunts and other nerd cred like that. It was amazing what he pulled off. Almost spectacular. Definitely more superior than his last role.
I agree. Best series actors, if it'll play nice. Anya Manson for The Nevers. Elizabeth Olsen for WandaVision. Haley Stanfield, Hawkeye. Jason Sudeikis for Ted Lasso. Jeremy Renner for Hawkeye. Luke Wilson for Stargirl. Steve Martin for Only Murdering. Tom Hiddleston for Loki, and all the Loki stand probably away with it too. Best comic book storyline. I'm going to keep going because it's just going to jump if I don't. 47 Furious
RJ,
Tales.
Take a look at Lorenzo's latest comment.
If someone leaves CG, do they start making comic books where the protagonists spend 20 pages eating pizza? Yeah, pretty much.
I guess that's an allusion to the whole X-Men Gala thing.
You know what? It says, you're CG or RJ CG. Like, you know what? I'm pro good comics. I'm anti-asshole. And that's where our point of contention comes into play.
Well, I think Lorenzo was responding to Stu's comment about, I guess, somebody named Liam coming back to CG. I don't know who Liam is, but...
Oh, yeah, Liam Gray. He was on CG before, supposedly. I don't know. He operates out of Australia. He does some comic books that I've not read. And I, just because I haven't bought them from Australia. Try it again. 47 Furious, Galactic Rim, High, Impossible, Common America 3, King in Black, Creek Chris Must Be Destroyed, Loco Hero, Mythic High, Monster MD, One Future, Perfect 10, Pocus Hocus, and Strength of Alex Raymond. Not a single DC comic made the nomination list from the people who said, hey, consider this book. So, go figure. Best Comics Writers. Alan Dunford and Will Radford for Pocus Hocus. Dave Brink for Perfect 10. Gilbert Deltres. You know what? Read them, folks. Just go there and...
There you go.
There's no pictures there.
And what's the URL that people can find this, RJ?
It's right there in chat. I'm going to post it again.
There you go.
Everybody
and vote.
wants to rule the world.
No, they got to go and
now we
vote.
got our...
Not
These 12 nominees, these have all been our Critical Blast Bombshell of the Month, our cosplayers for the past year. You have
awesome
Astra Void, Newman
Real
Cosplay, Weirdo Ellie, Ready Cosplayer 1, Dan Jess, Paris Cosplays, AMH cosplay, Silthig, Kel, Ms. Marvelous, Hannah in Wonderland, and Thor God of Thunder. No, he doesn't look like Thor God of Thunder there. His other cosplays, he looks like Chris Hemsworth.
I know none of these cosplayers. I hope they all win.
Well, that's the thing about it was that, we weren't looking for Yaya Han because, she's already got a website. But we have arranged so that this year, the winner of the, our bombshell of the year is going to go have a live stream with us. And we will be interviewing them and giving them the presentation of their medal. They'll probably already have it in mail, and we're just going to do the thing with them. Hey, look what I got. But
very metal. Very
professional cosplayer Kara Nicole has agreed to join the stream and co-host that particular interview stream so that she can ask them questions about cosplay that I wouldn't know to ask, and they can ask her what they can take advantage of her expertise on certain things. So that'll be sometime in March because vote in January, figure it out in February, and order the engraved things, and then ship them out. And then probably
Makes
February.
sense.
My luck, it's going to be one of our UK cosplayers and be like, okay, I know how to do it, but it's going to cost money.
Yeah, it's like we're shipping you off a medal to the UK. Oh, goodness gracious.
Yes. We hope it arrives okay.
Exactly. It may not cost thousands of dollars for shipping.
Yeah. Is there anything else we should talk about? Because I'm like, it's been a week.
I asked Danelli to drop by, and I don't know if he's in the back.
He is not. There's nobody else in the back. I'm going to look again just to make sure.
Well, because
No. I am sorry. He is scrolled down a row. You were on the next row down, sir.
Yeah,
You were behind the toolbar.
Yes, I was hiding. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch from the behind the scenes.
You know what? StreamYard's got to do something to let us know a little bit more, other than a boop. Because if 5 people are talking, they're like a boop. I'm not going to hear it. I don't hear the boop.
Hey, Lorenzo. Yeah.
I asked Danelli to drop by because he told me, was it about a week ago, something interesting about the Matrix movie, and it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, and
and you want to share? Okay.
I want to share because you know what, RJ with Critical Blast, his websites in news and reviews. I think this might be an interest for the website.
Okay.
But you got to hear from the horse's mouth.
The horse's mouth.
It kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I mean, we were.
So what do we got here?
Well, it started out with George saying, "I hated the movie" and all that stuff, and
which is true.
He hated the movie, and I don't blame him. There's a different expectation going on, and I said, "Well, George, you have to think about it a little bit. In their effort to be woke, they went all 360 degree and reinforce all of our values. It's a hyper normative relationship. It's a guy going after a gal. It's both of them being in balance. All the blue pills are mindless zombies.
Are they little?
They throw themselves off the roof like craziness. And they call themselves
blue pills.
The blue pills, yeah.
No.
Yeah. The people who are still asleep plugged into the machine. And basically at the end, it's everybody. They said there's no more agent. Anybody could be part of the system. And you see that towards the end with the zombies where everybody going after, council culture and all that stuff. That's what
the swarm.
The swarm.
Yes.
It's supposed to be the Russian bots, but it ended up being everybody who's connected to the Matrix is the ones who are killing themselves off the roof, mindlessly. And then
thank goodness Neo had magic powers and up at that point because she couldn't drive that well. That was the scene I actually hated the most. I hated.
Oh
that
God!
scene.
I couldn't.
Wait. Let Denelli finish.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Go on. Yep.
No, and it continues on that it trivializes, work, and that's what the left does. It trivializes any accomplishment and downplay it. You kind of have that first act, which is kind of like, hey, Warner Brothers is going to make another Matrix movie with you or without you. You can either sabotage it or not. That's why they kept saying the whole mantra, there's no choice, because they were going to do it with her and without her. So might as well sabotage it themselves, the movie. The second act, it's the same thing. It's all the people say, well, there's nothing going to be changed. It's just going to be status quo. And the third one's a zombie movie. But again, in the effort of trying to show themselves in a positive life, they just reinforce all of our views completely. And that's something that I was surprised that a lot of YouTubers just saw the surface level and didn't really look at it. And they saw, oh, another woke piece of garbage kind of deal, which it kind of is, but it reinforces what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, you know what? I can agree with
adding a little bit more fireball to my drink here. Please continue, guys.
Sorry. I can agree with everything you just said. The only problem with it is that the movie still, for me, it bombed more in the execution. Like, if they put $190 million into that movie, it was in like 3 of the scenes, and the rest of it, I just it didn't feel like a Matrix movie to me. Just overall, I felt like we were watching something.
Nope.
Yeah, it just wasn't. The blue thing didn't work. I know all the blue light was supposed to be symbolic of something, but to me, it just felt like a 90s cheap lighting stage. Like,
heaven forbids, yes. Basically, there's also another aspect to this particular puzzle that a lot of people are, I don't think, cluing into. When this movie come in not 1, but number 3 in the domestic box office, below Sing 2, there's a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes that's just not clicking properly.
Wait, below which movie?
Sing 2. So basically, when Matrix came out, Spider-Man was number 1 in the box office, second week in a row. Sing 2 was number 2, and basically Matrix was number 3.
What is the Sing 2 movie?
No, Sing 2. Animated animals doing the concert.
That's it.
For kids, basically kids.
Yes.
See, yep, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
This has been as the box office flop, and I've heard the same rumors you've heard about how this was. He basically said they're making this as a flop on purpose to basically poison the water well, so no more Matrix movies moving forward. I also heard what you just said as well about how Warner Brothers is going to make this movie with or without the sisters involved, and only one of them got involved with the project. I'm hoping that's not true, because this is a complete waste of opportunity for everyone who worked on this particular production. And to be honest with you, I expected a lot more, if not anything but writing.
Well, see, next time Warner Brothers needs to say, we're making this film without you.
Well, the funny thing is, from what I've heard very loosely, is they've cut out the Matrix franchise, because the thing is, this is all about show business. And the thing is that as there is a show, the business did not recuperate its losses. And it's going to take a lot of... Go on,
sorry, because you're cutting off. So I thought you...
Yeah, you got
okay. I've got shitty internet. I apologize, guys.
No problem. I was going to say, no, it'll recoup its money eventually, because they're going to put it in sales and streaming. So it'll recoup its money. How they're going to execute it down the line, which is usually 5 years for stuff like that, they won't care at that point. It'll be contact, whether the siblings are going to be part of it or not in the future. The fact that they hold the rights to make more franchise, whether it goes to the big screen, is just another factor saying, hey, maybe movies are not for this franchise. Maybe it's better just to go directly
it's quite possible.
Yeah.
It's quite possible. Or they could just put it as a video game.
Now, I'll tell you that Unreal 5 tech demo game, I actually want them to make that into a full-fledged game. That was a really good tech dev.
That would be cool.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, but
I've got to see this film
Yeah.
because I've heard people coming out of it saying they absolutely loved it, and people saying they absolutely hated it. And I asked George, I'm like, is it possible for a distribution company to put out 2 versions of a film and not tell anybody, just to see what markets test better, to know which one goes on the DVD?
That
possible.
would
They
be
did it for
awesome.
Clue.
It'd be like
No,
Clue.
they did that with Clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that with Clue. You go to different theaters. Different theater had different versions of it, and
That's
it's
awesome.
only one. Yeah,
I think there was 5 versions.
yeah. There was 5 versions of.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
East
awesome. I
Coast,
did not
West
know
Coast, South, and mid. Plus, what's the? I think it's like overseas.
Yeah, and it was basically just 5 different endings. You know, who was the killer?
Right.
Yeah.
Which means that there was no way to piece the clues together if they could do that.
Yeah.
I was going to show
I
off
don't
a piece
know.
of artwork that Chris did for
Yep.
me.
Let's have a look.
I've got it on my other screen here.
Oh, I forgot to look for that, bro.
Hey,
So there's that, and
Is that Chris right there?
yeah, Chris made that. That is our buddy Mr. Hop there,
Yeah.
Oh.
and we're
I'm
going to
Will
make
Possum.
this. Yeah, well, we're making this available. Just a small thing here to make available. Notice it's die cut kind of structured, so it can be turned into magnets. It can be turned into stickers. It can be turned into patches, whatever.
That's
so we
awesome.
can so that Mr. Hop can
really
take this and set up a little store, and just do something here because it's been a little rough for him. He lost the leg recently. He lost the toes on the other foot that he did have.
I'm not looking for a new one because the old one is probably long gone beyond this expiry
Yeah.
date.
And I keep saying they started
Zombie
on the
leg.
toes of your one foot, and you woke up and said wrong leg.
Wait a minute, we couldn't.
Well, I had a second. Wait a second. I had a certain that I collected in the heat off one toe. What the rest of them? I said, oh, fuck it, you left leg. What do you do? So I went, oh, that's awesome.
We couldn't.
Great.
We can't hear you.
We couldn't hold a barbecue party.
Oh, we should have.
Yes.
We had beanie weenies already
No,
there.
for the leg. For the leg, we barbecue the leg.
Yeah, put it on a rotisserie. Put it on a spit.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are.
Can't let it go to waste.
Yeah, exactly. That's good protein right there.
But anyway,
Are you guys cannibals or something like that?
What? No, who
Are
said
you guys
about being cannibals?
or something? It sounds like you guys are cannibals.
No, didn't say anything
no, we're
about
not
that.
going to can it. It's going to be frozen.
You want to eat a man's amputated?
I
leg?
didn't say anything about eating it.
Just roasting it. Just roasting
Yeah.
it. We want to smell it. We want to smell the
Yeah,
aroma.
that's
DC comic.
that's marketing taking over your imagination.
Well, I
There
mean,
you
you're talking about roasting it,
Yes.
barbecuing it.
Yeah,
So there is a natural assumption that if you're going to barbecue something,
You
Yeah.
made the
you're going
jump.
to eat it. So
You
No,
made
no,
the
you
jump,
made the
but he
jump.
didn't say it.
that in your craw there, George.
There you go.
That was the point. He presented it, and you made the jump for him.
Yeah.
And he does now. He can say that I didn't say that. That's what
Exactly.
comics marketing
You
does.
applied it.
Yes. they pave
You
the road, and
guys-
then you assume that there's something at the end of it. But anyway,
guys
we're
are
making
awesome.
this available to Mr. Hop to whether it's a TeePublic or a Redbubble or whatever it is, just so he can kind of make back some of the money that has been spent on health issues here and rehousing, because
I was in-
apparently the old house couldn't handle the wheelchair. So,
According
Well,
to the CDC.
and I've got other stuff I'm playing with that eventually I'll be able to share too, and you can use that too. It's just
That's awesome.
to be honest, I wasn't sure what happened. I knew. Should I even say this? I sound like instant.
Well,
it sounds weird, but I was
Wait,
asking
just-
like,
just-
if your whole leg was gone. Like I wasn't sure.
Okay. Wait a second. I know my name is crappy, but I'm going to have the floor here. I wasn't going to bring any of this up. being is that I really enjoy hanging out with you guys, and it basically distracts me from my current set of circumstances. So, but however, long story short, what happened was I stepped on a piece of glass back a year and a half ago, looking through my large toe. It got stitched up properly, but the infection became
Mr. Hop, I'm sorry. I'm having problems here. I'm having problems understanding what you're saying because of the crackling.
You're popping way too much for us to get the story here, Mr. Hop.
All right. So basically, long story short, just things started to happen, and it's been one hell of a ride, and it's been really, really tough. So to answer the question, my left leg is amputated from the knee down on my left side. So and the thing is, when it comes to amputations, that's supposed to be really, really, really lucky. And basically, what happened with the left leg, I got hit with a very, very rare infection. And the thing is that if I didn't go to doctors in the right place at the right time, the infection would have gotten my blood supply and bone marrow, and I'd be dead in a few days. So whoever's lucky starts looking after me as the leg is amputated, at least I'm still here, and that's the important of all of this.
Yep.
Did I come across
So
that?
just to decipher it, he got a wound from a piece of glass that got really bad and infected, and he lost his leg up to his knee on the left side. I understood everything he was saying, but it was hard, so I just wanted to recap it.
My understanding was he fought a shark and he lost.
That was the other half of it. That was the other half. Yeah.
I heard it was something about a serial killer killing a hooker, and he intervened and he kicked the guy and got cut.
Well, he is willing, you know.
The serial killer had a chainsaw.
But no. Anyway, the thing is that
in the hot sun, I fought the law and the
yeah, he didn't.
won.
Wasn't the law though?
Law and the law won.
Well, the thing is that he is in a wheelchair now, and while Canada is supposedly this glorious place for healthcare, they're not so hot with housing and making housing to where it has to be wheelchair accessible. So he couldn't stay in his older place. Difficulty finding a newer place. Staying with friends, which is staying with friends is nice talk for I don't have a home. And it's a temporary thing. I don't know if that has changed for you since we last talked.
It hasn't changed fully. I've been at this same place for the last couple of weeks, thank goodness. But I'm finding a place. But the problem is that the places I'm looking at are way beyond actual comfort level for paying rent. Long story short, I am government assistance programs because I can't work because of the leg and my bad eyesight. So it's really, really tough right now. The things that I am doing what I can. I'm in good spirits. I'm being positive. Again, the thing is that when you're an amputee, it's tough to find a place in my town because I got people helping me lower place. But the big problem is that once they discover I'm in a wheelchair, they do not want to do business with me moving forward. That's tough.
All right. Well, we got to find you a new place to live that's got good internet.
I have a bit of a question on that because I was wondering because I know everybody was, I guess, making the joke about the Canadian internet service sucks. Well, we know that Mr. Hop is in Canada. We also know though that George is in Canada. So how is Mr. Hop's internet crappy and George's is okay?
Because George blackmailed a high executive, and I was there listening in.
Yeah. George lives close enough to the United States border. I almost said North American border, like I'm an idiot about geography. He ran across the southern border and has plugged into a house over there and has got this like 300-mile cable. Just like jacking cable from your neighbors.
I got this Ethernet cable that I've taken 20 years to run outside the house, down the street, across the highways, and then underneath the Lake Ontario.
Yeah, he's only 20 minutes away from Detroit.
Yeah,
and he found one of the burnt out houses. The modem was still working, so he just plugged in.
Yeah, so you know how hard it is to hide a cable amongst the overhanging cables, that go along the highway. And you have to do it around 2:30 in the morning. That's when the shift changes.
Yeah,
I'm seeing a Wi-Fi commercial here.
I mean, he's taking advantage of.
Guys, George is forgetting something. Since we're both Canadian, you have to place on a waiting list for 10 years to make any of the stuff work.
No. See, hold on a second. See, when I started running the cable, Wi-Fi didn't exist, so that's why I was running with the 286 cable.
Yeah, twisted pair.
And a Radio Shack duct tape.
Yes,
there's a DSL modem still blinking in some abandoned house in Detroit.
Yeah,
and it's RS-232 SCSI connection.
Yes, yeah, it's not my problem. Really, it's just that he's on basically 2400 baud and streaming over it.
And to answer your question,
you're using your phone too, right?
Yeah, I'm using my cell phone. You're absolutely correct.
That's
you're using your phone?
Yep. And if you're like using the 4G instead of the Wi-Fi connection, that makes a difference too. So
it does.
Apple does not play well with streaming. It just does. Apple products and streaming
I
don't
use my phone for internet a whole lot. So I use my laptop here. So
yeah, basically what's going on is I'm feeding my phone into my laptop and broadcasting through that. So that's the reason why things are not a premium level of this to the game. But at least it's a little bit.
I would like to point out I'm on a Mac stream channel. Everything I use is a Mac.
What can I say?
To be honest, I also have to call the next door neighbor in the United States for him to go over to the abandoned house and reset the modem every few hours.
Yeah, can you go press the button? just press the button.
I mean,
pull the plug and count to 30.
Some neighbor asked for a cup of sugar. George has freeze press button.
Yeah, go reboot the modem.
I leave a note for the guy who drops the milk off. Can you please enter the premises and press the button on and off?
The server is in a closet in a bathroom. He was able to get space after they removed Hillary Clinton's server from there.
Just demand the milkman ring the doorbell and put a reset button where the doorbell should be. So every day.
and I accept all pamphlets from Watchtower.
Yeah, I need to subscribe to Watchtower, but you have to hand deliver it.
Yeah. You'll be ordering Domino's pizza at 3 in the morning.
RJ, it just goes to show you, when you take a little time off and come back, what can come about from that? Sometimes taking a break.
Oh yeah,
but we had a pretty good stream tonight in terms of having.
That's what vacations are for. Vacations are for refreshing. But on a serious note,
next week we'll be bitter and angry.
Yeah, again. Well, I started out that way tonight. I just got better.
George and I will probably be at each other's throats again. just because our personalities just seem at times to really get on each other. But
that's what it is. Yeah, we'll call it that. But on the serious note, we have George and I talked after we had Mr. Hop on before, and it was like, what can we do here? Because staying with a friend is a temporary situation, and it's if you've ever had a friend stay at your house, no matter how good of a friend they are, you want them to leave eventually.
Yes.
Wasn't Benjamin Franklin that said that?
Just a friendship.
Wasn't Benjamin Franklin the one who said after 3 days, company smells like fish?
Yeah, companies like fish. After 3 days,
what's kind of funny about that, about what you're talking about when you have friends staying with each other like that. This morning on MeTV, one of the episodes they had the Flintstones on was the house guest episode where Barney and Betty had to actually move. Got invited to stay with Fred and Wilma because their plumbing busted, and you had the whole episode where Fred and Barney were keeping from totally losing it, and then by the end of the episode, it was actually Wilma and Betty who ended up actually fighting.
Yeah, it can put a strain. So we we came up with the idea. Said, well, what little thing can we offer here? They've got online stores for magnets and stickers and everything. If you got a design, brand yourself and then make the most of it. So I reached out to Chris after that and I said, hey, can you help us out with our friend Mr. Hop here? We need a design that's logoable, that's marketable, that's brandable. And Chris, I said, let me know how much it is, and Chris said it's nothing. So,
right. But I do want to say you are in my drawing cycle, and what that means is every day I dedicate hours to drawing, and you've been in anywhere between 45 minutes to 2 hours of the day. So, if you decide
how much you
you
charge
really
per
want
hour?
to do this, what's that?
And how much do you charge per hour?
No, it's not that. You're actually just part of like the warm-up cycle. Like,
oh goodness, okay.
So what I'm trying to say though is that like I'll have other ideas I can send to you if you decide that like you find something where you're doing it and you're having some success. I'll just send them to you and you can go ahead and use them. Okay. This is why my wife handles all the business, but I am allowed to do this one.
So. Yeah, I said I went to Chris. I went to Diana. I went through Diana. I followed protocol because I knew what Chris would say.
That's why she's in the hot tub listening in just to make sure Chris didn't do anything.
All right.
Well, she went to bed, so we can say
joking,
anything now.
I will literally give away, whatever. I'm like, oh, you need a comic drawn, and Diana's like, no.
But
Chris,
we
sign
need
here. Thank you, Chris.
we need to keep Mr. Hop around so that we can keep the Kitchener Comic Convention going, because he is the guy who heads that whole deal. He's the one who makes it happen.
I'm kind of curious. With your recent medical issues, Mr. Hop, are you still able to do Kitchener? Because you were just telling us that you actually can't work because of what's been going on with you. But is that preventing you from doing anything? Being able to dispatch your duties as being the guy for Kitchener Comic Con?
Well, if my mic doesn't cut out, I'll dive into that really, really quickly. Basically, I could do a few things. I can't do everything that I do normally, but the thing is, the things I can do, I do well. So what does this mean? This means I got to find more volunteers to work with and basically distribute my work out evenly, and of course distribute the work towards the soft and hard skills that the individuals have they could work with. Because the stuff I do is, I wouldn't say it's complicated, but it is involved. Plus on top of that, with COVID, there's a lot of sponsors that are simply no longer in business. So once things have finally settled down, I have to go back on the road again to try to find more sponsors for Kitchener Comic Con. So that's the tough part. But however, it's definitely doable. And at the same time here, I figured out the formula of what makes Kitchener Comic Con successful, and mimicking and continuing to follow up with that formula is very important for the future ongoing successes for KCC. So the thing is that right now, City Hall is still under construction. So the thing is that we really can't move forward until that base point is fully constructed. At the same time, that's falling perpendicular towards my certain set of circumstances as well. So by the time everything comes together, hopefully I'll be at like 70, maybe 80% more effective than I am now.
Good.
And at the same time, I'm going through a major transitional period. And also the same thing is that with conversations like this, I know, and you guys mentioned you guys are willing to help me, which is absolutely fantastic as well. So basically coming across stronger, more effectiveness is very important, especially for event initiatives such as this, because one of the few things I've always been about is generating new opportunities, especially generating opportunities for people in my local community. I feel that's very important to move forward with, and that's pretty much the underlying mandate I have for all of my events and everything else like that. So
basically, at least what it sounds like is you're waiting on Kitchener to finish doing the construction on City Hall. I would figure it during the time between now and that, maybe, and I know you probably have pretty much mentioned this, but maybe what you ought to do is try to get yourself like a group of people around you that you can delegate stuff.
That's exactly what's going on here. Yes,
used to have that. And by the way, Kitchener Comic Con is free to attend. It does not charge admission. You sell the tables. The people at the table sell their stuff. Hello, Rosetta. How are you tonight?
Twisted, evil, whatever you want to say. I mean,
situation normal.
Basically. I don't think I've actually ever talked to Chris on stream. We've argued on Twitter before.
That's who you are? I'm like, oh God, I hope she doesn't remember that shit.
Oh, no. I'm a woman. I will remember anything that I can use manipulatively. I mean, just kidding. No, we're good. It takes a lot for me to really stay pissed at somebody.
Sweet.
People can argue on stream and find or on Twitter and then get on streams and be like, hey, remember when we did that? I
argue with everyone. I argue with my friends. I call them things like limey wankers and bastards and stuff all the time. So,
well, the first time I saw you online, you were doing a stream. You were hosting on your channel, doing interviews, and they were the most antagonistic interviews I've ever seen anybody do, because that was the gig. That was you had people on there, and then you just like roasted them and told them how awful their book was.
Let me say hi to Pops here. Pops just popped in along with Dojo. Well, we know Dojo Coon's been here for a while, but Pops just popped in to say hello, everybody.
I saw the green light. We have a babysitter in the chat now, so mind your manners. And Russian bots, dobrito, dalekopia, and go away.
I mean, you can't tell me to mind my manners. Come on now.
We'd never do that.
Besides, you missed my birthday stream, so I'm still mad at you. I mean,
I'm sorry. When was your birthday?
Wednesday. Less than a week ago.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! 29 again.
Happy birthday.
No, 38.
Oh.
And I'm fine with it.
29-ish.
There you go.
So what's going on in your world, Rosette? Did you have a good Christmas?
Oh, I hate the holiday that just ended. Christmas was okay, kind of, considering I had to do a bunch of traveling and dealing with stuff, and we buried my uncle 2 weeks before it, so...
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's been crazy, it's been busy, but I'm doing okay right now. I'm just trying to work on my daily poetry and sketches and stuff, so...
And you're working on the photography book?
Yeah, I am. It got delayed because I've been dealing with family and medical for the last few months, but I am still working on it bit by bit. And more, I guess I would say that what I've been basically doing for the last few months is obsessively re-editing every page about 5,000 times because it doesn't seem perfect enough to me.
Yep. I can comprehend that.
I understand that completely.
I am screaming. I am a screaming obsessive OCD perfectionist. I really am.
Well, you have to be. I mean, I'm getting ready to start diving in and doing the pre-edits on The Devil You Know Better, because we're going to have, our reading period ends at the end of March. And all I can remember is when I was doing The Devil You Know and reading that, I struggled with that and I fought with that manuscript. And then it's like I sent the manuscript off to the printer and they printed off 5 of them before somebody said, hey, this isn't right, because they bought the book. I was one of the authors that bought it before I could give them their copy. And I'd sent a 6x9 format and told them a 5x8 picture, and nobody checks at Ingram Spark. No one checks. And it's just like the letters were going off the page and off the top of the page. It was just unreadable.
Oh, you hate to see that. I mean,
I hate to see that.
Painful.
Absolutely.
I have to ask, I've heard you have become quite the distribution center for the Indiegogos lately.
I'm working on it. We've done 12. We got 12 of them going, and we got more people talking to us all the time.
I might have to talk to you, especially since you know enough about which printers, so you can help me find a good one to do the hardcover.
Okay. I don't know why people keep asking me about printers. I don't print. I really don't know printers. I'm like, well, I get books from Mixam. I get books from comics. I'm not Comixology, but
no.
comics.
Let me explain this way. You are distributing these enough, you know which printers have been the most consistent.
Nope.
Yes.
I am extremely distrusting, and the fact that I don't have anybody's information on the makes me leery with every single one of them.
I understand that, and they can all screw up. So even the best printers. I mean, I knew a really good printer. They screwed up with one of my clients, so my client was like, went to a new printer and won't use them now.
RJ doesn't recommend printers.
I don't recommend like the best. I say here's a list of the ones that have come in.
And what they've done.
That's especially if you're overseas and like, if you're looking for an American one here, here, and here.
I just want the facts of what you've witnessed, and I'll pick between them. That's all I want. I am very facts driven, and Chris is probably sitting here going, she really is as much of a controlling bitch as she seemed like online.
I will say that the last batch I did was for Incontessi, which was Rich Parada's book. And he let me know, hey, look at issue number 2 real hard. And I did. And there were 4 randomly sorted into the stack, 4 books where the person picked up the stack of pages, bound them into the cover completely backward. So the back page was the front page.
Oh,
Jesus.
Let me interject something real quick here. Hello, Heroenberg, and thank you for the plug of my channel. Heroenberg has joined us as well. So,
yeah, and Lorenzo has, we do the shipping. And here's the thing: you want to talk about late books? I get the books in before I open them. I get the person on stream, say, here they are. They look good. Yep, okay. Takes a day to crunch the data. Takes a day to package the books. I'm ready to print the labels. I call them up on the 3rd day. I'm like, okay, we're ready to print the labels. Send money. If they send money right then, I print labels right then. Those books are in and out in 3 days. They do not hang around here.
I am the one who's so obsessive, I won't even start the Indiegogo till I have an actual copy test printed of the book in my hands.
Oh, well, you should.
Because I don't want any delay on anything. I want to be able to start shipping basically as we're still doing the extra time. I want a perfect release. And with my work and photography work is so much, in some ways, so much more to try to release than a standard draw art, stuff like that. Because there's so many stages to every single piece of art on it. There's so many stages to every photo, from actually out there tracking down, finding that 1 million shot to all the production, publishing, editing, and all that for just each page. That is insane. I never knew. I knew the photography was a lot of work because I do that hours and hours every day. And I was okay with that. I'd spent a lot of time out hiking and doing it. I had no idea how much a photography book actually takes. And then I started doing research, and they're saying it's 30 people is the standard to produce a photography book within 3 to 6 months.
Yep.
No.
That reminds me, Mike. When you were going through the old books, like at the beginning, like Superman, Action Comics, and stuff like that, what have you learned about the advertisements and stuff like that?
Well, they were pretty prominent back then, and obviously, I don't know if I've learned anything specific, but there were a lot of interesting things that they sold in those advertisements, including, you'd have everything from bicycles to plane model kits to even guns, believe it or not. You'd have like some BB guns that were sold in there. But I don't know.
So the advertisement in those books was a snapshot of society at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, as a lot of things are when you look at anything from a historical standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell a lot about what people were interested in by what the ads were in those books.
My recommendation is, if you take say a particular publication back then, like Action Comics #1, and look at the advertisement in it, and then go back and look at a Sears catalog around that time.
Well, yeah, I get what you're saying, and yeah, I could see that, because a lot of those ad pages did actually look like they came out of a Sears catalog book.
By the way, this is the Incontessi book in question. Pops, I haven't pulped them yet, so.
Wow, nice.
But here's the first page, which is the last page. This is fan art. So in this particular instance, the very second page would be more fan art from Sophia, and then you get the end of the book.
Oh, so they got the signatures wrong.
They picked up the book and they put it in on the wrong edge. So if I open up the back cover, here is the here's the.
Just say they printed it manga style.
Yeah. Let's just say they printed manga style.
Going back to George for a moment.
Just sell those as a manga limited edition, okay?
They did it. They did it manga style because it's backwards but forwards on each page. So you get like an manga.
Going back to what George was just asking me about too. I know that my co-host Batgoat is into a lot of those ads as well. So I mean, and you can always drop by on Friday nights and catch the stream yourself, and you can hear what we talk about with that, as well as what other things we're covering. Anyway, I want to go back to something we were talking about earlier. That because we do have some newer people in, I want to get their take on it, and I'm sure by now everybody's I know at least 3 of us have because we were talking about it earlier. Have you guys heard about Betty White passing? And just if you want to give your
vaguely, I heard briefly about it the day it happened, but I avoid all news through like the 31st through several days into the year because PTSD issues. So I haven't heard a lot about it beyond the past.
Okay,
basically, I heard about it on the 31st, and when my friend were talking. Oh, Betty White passed away. She passed away. Why? Because it's the third time that the internet has claimed that Betty White has passed away. So we're saying, no, she.
Oh man, we're really losing.
Yeah, I instantly looked to see if it was a hoax because there's been so many hoaxes on her death, and I was sad when it wasn't.
And the passed away. It was 9:30 Pacific.
Yeah.
Hold on,
you guys want to share any?
Well, the big thing is that when I heard about it on the news, then I knew it was legit. So it's like it was very sad to hear.
It was sad to hear.
And Herwenberg, you're catching us back up on the first half hour of the show with Vixen, Giraffe, Cunnilingus, and Superman prison rape. Yes, we started there. In fact, in fact, this was
George and I were just about at each other's throats because of some of that.
But yeah, that was yeah, and that was our little banner. I just brought up for no particular reason, just because I wanted to have a little Vixen tribute there.
And now, of course,
not her anymore because she's with dudes here. Yeah,
memory.
Am I stuck as the token female again? By the way.
Yes, you are.
You keep interrupting.
Oh.
Hey, George, do you want me to tell you what you could stick in it?
Yeah, hey, thanks for bringing down the chat.
Now you can. But yeah, you had heard about the whole Superman prison rape story?
Briefly, and I just said, oh, fuck DC.
It's Superboy, isn't
it? No, not Superboy. This is Clark Kent. Years ago.
Oh, really? Years
depowered,
ago.
Kept for 8 months in a foreign prison, tied in vulnerable, exposed positions. Yeah,
exposed.
Fuck DC.
Yeah,
exposed.
And DC.
That's about all we need.
No, actually,
dead company.
Here's something more. We're taking more than fuck DC. Stop buying their actual comics. There we go.
We just listed, Rosetta, all the best of for 2021 nominees that people are voting on at Critical Blast. Best comic, not a DC among them.
Fuck Marvel
First time ever.
Yeah.
We've been at this for 8 years.
Yep.
I am that one that is the hard edge. I haven't given a cent to any of them. DC, Marvel, Disney, all that stuff. Nothing for a long time because I am so fucking done with them.
As a comic book convention runner / owner, I'm in a moral dilemma with both Marvel and DC. Like, how do I have their branding a part of my event if I've got kids involved? If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, if they want to go hardcore Marvel stuff, that's awesome, but it has to be labeled as such, and they're not
It's
doing
like
that.
which DC comic is going to become the next Savage Dragon?
Oh God.
Yeah.
The way looking, all of them.
Well, okay. Explain to
Like-
me what that means, because I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that.
Savage Dragon is this far short of being child pornography.
Yeah. So it
Yeah,
started
I
out-
knew what
it
he
started
meant,
out
and I
in the
cringed.
early
Like that.
90s.
What do you
and
mean
then
it's that far?
It's already
and
crossed the
I have
line.
I have to comment to what he was saying with that too, because again, I think everybody knows I'm very say what you want, do what you want. I'm anti-censorship, but again, mark things appropriately,
same here.
label
Yeah, same
things for adults, and don't fucking promote that stuff to children. Otherwise, you are a degenerate piece of shit that needs taken down.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, just
completely agree.
a little
I completely
historical
agree with
point
that
here.
position.
This idea of the way that they're publishing comics and trying to make it sound like they're for kids, but seem more like adults. This is not really anything new. There are stories. You go back to the Golden Age. You know, I've done a lot of coverage of the Golden Age comics. You go back to that period of time, and you'll find some stories there that you'll just be scratching your head going, this was written for kids?
No, it was written for everybody. That's the difference.
Yeah, it was written for everybody.
Yeah,
The Golden Age
yeah.
is different
Well,
from the Silver Age. The Golden Age was for everybody. You had horror, you had romance, you had everything. So it wasn't extremely for kids. It's only when they did the Comics Code Authority that they censored and said, "Oh, comics are for kids only," and that's where that stupid mentality.
Yeah,
the death
and
of
the CCA came
And
about
that-
because they weren't labeling their books.
We're talking about the Superman story, Superman prison rape story earlier. I had brought up there was a story back in, I think it was, I don't know if it was Flash 6-7 or 7-8. It was a Hawkman story. At that time, of course, Flash Comics was an anthology. So you had a Hawkman story in there where he teamed up with a federal agent named Ione Craig, who during the story had been captured by the bad guy. And I didn't actually read the story. I only read the synopsis, but I think it was either implied or the bad guy actually did rape her. That was back in like 1940, I believe, when that story came out. Okay, so they were doing it even back then, you know.
Right.
Oh yeah, Golden Age books were notorious for women in bondage.
Well, Wonder Woman,
Miss Fury.
Wonder Woman was started as a bondage fantasy. Actually,
Yeah.
literally was.
Well, yeah, we've talked.
And
about
I didn't
that.
really mean them. I meant more like the captured damsels that had to be rescued, not the Wonder Woman stuff. Where it's like Wonder Woman had fun spanking Etta Candy at one point.
Wow,
Oh,
that's proof.
I have seen some of those early Wonder Woman comics, and they basically were porn of their time. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, they were.
Actually,
They were bad.
You do not have to apologize.
But
one
the different-
cover that comes to mind as we talk about that, one cover that I remember, I think it was from Sensation Comics, which was Wonder Woman's anthology title that she was a part of at that time. I remember there was one where in the book, the story, she was dealing with the spy Drashka Nishki. And
only you will remember that, man. You remember the name of the bad guy.
And well, what the cover showed was Wonder Woman swinging, but Drashka had a hold of Wonder Woman's lasso and had actually captured Wonder Woman. Now, as you guys know, the magic lasso, whoever controls the magic lasso, whoever gets tied up in that lasso is under the control of the person who has control of the lasso. Well, basically, you see Drashka Nishki being carried by Wonder Woman, who is under the control of Drashka Nishki. This is one of the covenants they had.
They eventually changed that to just you had to tell the truth, not that you were in control. Wonder Woman could be controlled by a man if somebody bound her bracelets together.
They welded them. Yeah, they welded them together.
Yeah, and that's part of the Comics Code Authority nonsense that they put. Because you have to remember, you have to differentiate. Golden Age comics was for everyone. It was your mom, your dad, your grandfather. Everybody read it.
Well, it was more than that. They specifically weren't promoted to children until after the Comics Code stuff. They were promoted to adults, and it was up to the discretion of the adults whether or not the kids read them.
No,
and that changed with the Comic Code.
To a certain extent, some of the stories were actually,
not true. There was no filter on the shelf.
No, I did not say that they had specific labels on them. I'm saying as general promotion, they were not promoting them for kids. They were promoting them for adults.
The Superman radio program promoted the Superman comic books to the kids who were listening because it was like, hey, kids, go get your Superman comics.
But that was in the Comic Code era, wasn't it?
No.
Was that before? That one was before. You're right.
But the thing is, that, once you had a medium that was being sold by a retailer, even today, outside of your direct market, your Walmart, your Kroger's, whatever, they like, this is a comic book and this is a comic book. You can buy these because they're comic books. Never mind that one is, Superman and one is Vertigo. And once they find that out, what they don't want to do? Have to read the comic books to determine which one's which. Much easier to not sell, which is why we don't have magazine distribution anymore, because moms went to Walmart's and said, this Image comic has this in it. And Walmart said, yeah, it does. You know what? We make so much off milk, eggs, and clothing. We don't really need to carry these comic books. And they don't. And now
that's also why I said as a general, that was how it's done. There's always exceptions, but the censorship problem is also we've had so much censorship for so long. People freak if something's not. And so you have to label things more. But there's also we're getting more degenerate in some ways, honestly. And that's, you can argue whether or not that's good or bad as a society, but kids should be at least a little protected from it too, know?
Label things appropriately.
As the movement, if you know what the movement Just Label It is, which is a movement is literally stop censoring things, stop controlling what pills or what meds or what drugs or other stuff what people can eat and stuff. Just have everything's required to have full discretion labels and let people decide.
Yeah. I fought for labeling in the 90s in the late 80s, and I kept getting pushback to like, well, books aren't labeled. You don't put ratings on books and comic books. I said comic books are not books. And it's funny is that the same people who were fighting against me saying, tell me this book is for a kid, tell me this book is not, are the same people who are saying, tell me that this movie has a rape scene in it so that I don't get triggered by something I don't want to see.
And there's also genuine PTSD is one thing. People who are just offended is another,
Yeah.
Everything that you're saying
is... Well, you guys have to remember, too, the comics...
There's another aspect as well. There's also a sales pitch, because both Marvel and DC are hurting for customers, and they're doing everything they can so people talk about the product and get involved in the advertising aspect. And things because of that, they're sacrificing quality storytelling, quality artwork for the sake of advertising, because that's what all this is. And I think they're doing that on purpose.
Dude, we're getting every 20th word now. It's degenerated.
You might need to refresh your system, actually. It's getting really bad. And I was really trying to follow you, and I couldn't at all.
But I'll refresh. Guys. So,
all right.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'll come back to the point I was about to make before we... the Comics Code Authority came out in 1954 based on the work of, Dr. Frederick Werther.
Right. We know that.
And his studies actually started in the late 40s. Now, while a lot of it was the parents complaining about like the violence and the gore, particularly in the like crime and the horror genres, superheroes were not, didn't escape it. They basically claimed Superman was a fascist. Batman and Robin were involved in a gay relationship. And of course, as we've talked about even on here, Wonder Woman involved with the bondage fetishism. So
to be fair, that one's actually documented and true. The others are kind of whiny BS, but that one's actually true. I did have one quick point I wanted to make, because you were talking about that they don't pay attention. They just put everything on the shelf side by side. Well, with the advent of the modern era and, coloring books and art books for adults too, one thing I've noticed a lot in a lot of these bookstores is where they will put the ones that are like nude fantasy art and swear books and stuff like that in the fucking kids sections with the little kids coloring books.
Yeah, they're still not looking at them because the coloring.
I have seen libraries putting fucking hentai in with the kids' manga stuff. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. I believe you.
Wow.
Because normal people don't understand. They think comic book is a genre rather than a medium.
These are the same people that in the 80s were bitching about all the things like Simpsons and stuff because they couldn't get it through their heads that not all cartoons are for kids.
Yeah. They know that a book has genres in it. I'll put the Stephen Kings over here. I'll put the Lewis Carrolls over here. These are all comic books. This is the comic book genre. And they can't understand that, oh, there's adult comics that should go in the adult section. There's kids comics that should go in the kids section. It's never been a medium that's broken out and really impressed upon people that I need to be subdivided to different audiences. I'm a vessel,
they need to
not
do
a
it.
container.
They need to do it with comics. They need to do it with manga and anime stuff. They need to do it with art books and things that, and they need to honestly do it with some of the history and mythology stuff. Because I'm sorry, some of that stuff is traumatizing as hell for most kids to read because it's dark shit. And that doesn't mean they don't need to learn it, but at appropriate ages. And it shouldn't just be shoved in the kids section just because it's history or culture. It doesn't mean it's appropriate.
Well, yeah. I think comics though did do a pretty good job in terms of varying the stuff up a bit prior to the introduction of Superman and Action Comics #1. The earliest days of comics they were all like kind of hodgepodge anthologies. In other words, most of the books you had prior to Action Comics and the development of the superhero genre, they had anthologies that had it was just a hodgepodge of stuff. You had humor, you had action adventure, you had crime drama, you even had some sci-fi in it. So
yeah, and as Herwenberg pointed out here when we were talking about the giraffe tongue cunnilingus thing, that's in the Harley Quinn book, which is marked adult. But it's not the fact that it was doing that. It's the fact that the girlfriend is absolutely a self-insert of T. Franklin, who got ficked, which is when you get to fictionally fuck your superhero friend crush. So she wrote herself in, and Vixen, of course, adored her.
Which goes back to what I was talking with George, is that I consider post 93 stuff fan fiction. So everybody who became a fan who's writing are fan fiction. The real stories that we love of these characters ended in 93.
Yeah.
And that's where it should be. It's like, if you love the story in 93, everything else is fan fiction because it reads like a fan fiction, only it's officially licensed by failing companies at this point.
I think I've read some good stuff
and
since
it has been because the quality has gone down.
I mean, what about things like
yeah, but they're far in between. Far. Okay, that was what 93, and we're looking at that 2014.
Oh well, 2014.
That's when it came. Blackest Night. That's like a lightning, hitting a tree in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
I was talking to George in 1940. The distribution was about, what was it? 30 million people reading comic books.
Oh yeah.
13 million people in the U.S. And I said, George, do you realize in 1940, 30 million people reading comic books, the same level? That's your whole nation of Canada right now reading comic books. Just to put it in perspective.
Well, and when you talk about okay.
And now that we're right here, it's a success if it's only about 10,000 issue copy, or manga or however you say it, depending on which Asian market.
Yeah, it's all good.
They're selling it 66 million people. So
yeah.
Well, something
which is more
than
population in Canada.
Comic books. Because I did a study. I don't know if you call it a scientific study because I was the only scientist and there was no peer review. But I've got a wide collection of comics, and I went to my Justice League set, and I'm like, okay, let's use Justice League as a base and just take a run of 12 comics. I took a run of 12. I didn't have a run of 12 comics from the 60s. Yes?
I just have to point of order. Don't call yourself a scientist. I'm trying not to laugh really hard at you. So
It's using the scientific
Back off,
method.
man. I'm a comics reader.
Mwah.
Ah,
Mwah.
Scientific method. There
And
you
I'm
go.
a comic
So-
artist and reader, and I'm a nut job, but I have to give you crap when I get a chance.
I appreciate it. I need it. But I took
You're awesome.
12 comics from the 60s because I didn't have a run of Justice League from there. I did have a run of 12 from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s, from the 2000s. And I sat down with these books and I did the craziest thing in the world. I counted the number of pages in each one. I counted the number of panels in each one. I counted the number of number of pages, number of stories, because books had more than one story at the time. Number of panels. I counted the number of words in each one. This
You're
was a
really trying to prove how
painstaking-
much of a nerd you are, aren't you?
This is a painstaking process. But here's the thing: I evaluated the cost of these books, adjusted them across the board for inflation to be, today's dollars at the time I did this thing.
The 1960s are vastly superior because of panels, word, and stories.
Yes, and not only that, but you got more words for your penny.
It's called story density. And that's the thing that we rail against with current creators because they are doing poses and characters. That's the problem with the 90s comics. And from now on, they only do about 5 to 6 panels, even less than that. And they do one panel for less work. So you're
Exactly.
paying more for less.
And you
There's
can
one
see it
other
when it's
thing.
graphed out on all metrics. When it's graphed out, it's like it's a plateau from the 60s through the 80s and then 90s. It just jumps up.
And you can see one more thing with that that I've noticed a lot with comics that I've been paying attention to is they're cutting corners more and more as they go. It's the same thing I get with me. I can't stand modern stuff because there's so little shadows. It just looks like a kid painted it on with bad watercolors, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing I've noticed is the longer they're doing this, there used to be some variance in books by who made it, what the story was, stuff. You'd see more variances in lengths. All the mainstream ones are all the same, like 3 different lengths. They don't vary off of the formula anymore. And
Which
it's
is usually
becoming
about
very...
32 pages, yeah. Because
It's 32, 36, or 42, almost every book now.
Because it's cost prohibitive on printer size.
But they're already charging you more for the rest of the shit, even though it's
no,
cheaper now than it used to be.
Let me
You know?
let me finish as well. They're cutting corners because the writers and artists that they're hiring don't know volume, don't know their stories, don't know what they're doing. The next one that they're going for is that they've forgotten the ability to write stories, and you can see that from the last good story was before 93, and afterwards it's no longer a good story because the main factor was awesome pose design, which is angry faces. I can tell you, ex Jim Lee, angry face, Spawn, angry face, the Image people, all angry face. If you look at that era, they're all angry face, and they're only posing. There's no dynamic movements going on with those pages, and the same thing happens right now with these stories. And these stories are now more Cal art than they actually are.
God, I hate Cal art. I hate Cal art so much.
Yeah, more traditional advertisement designs, because a lot of these artists that we hail were in the advertising business and they had great designs. And that's the problem. When RJ said that there's a plateau and then it jumped in the 90s, it's because in the 90s, all the fans of those earlier era actually started taking over the company and shit came down the pipeline. Can I say one more day?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Which apparently sucks in the comics, but is okay in a movie.
Because it wasn't.
With a lot of twisting.
And it actually allowed Peter Parker to grow, unlike the comics, which regressed Peter Parker and made it worse.
And that's just it. I love a lot of these classics, and I love a lot of the stuff that started in the 80s and really early 90s, and even in the 90s, I felt the decline. There were still some good stories, but there was less and less of them as the 90s went on.
Yeah.
And I grew up with this. This was my escapism. I grew up in basically abject poverty. I grew up with disabled parents in the outskirts near the res in the poorest tribe in the country. I grew up dealing with third world shit for me and my family. My escapism was walking to a library and reading whatever fantasy I could read for an hour to forget all the medical shit me and dad were going through. And so comics, novels, anything I could get my hands on that would make me forget reality for an hour or two was worth the work. It was worth trudging through snow. It was worth anything to get that escapism for a little bit. And now they're taking all of that out and they're trying to shove all this real world shit and all this tokenism and all this. We got to hit each woke box and we got to promote our politics and all this into it. And it's sucking that life out. And I think of any kid that's growing up like I was doesn't have that escapism anymore.
No, and if you do find a good story, you're committed to it for a year. You can't just, pick up, a book. You can't and read it and be done in a single sitting. I mean, this was
maybe you can't. I mean, maybe you can't. I mean,
like this story goes on for 4 months. Are you kidding me? And then even then, it didn't go on for 4 months. It was just 4 different unique stories told about the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how comics have gone in terms of the storytelling, because at the very beginning, at least from the point where I started, my historical comic retrospect, when you're talking about like the mid to late 30s there. Initially, a lot of the stories were done in a serial style format. In other words, you'd have these anthologies, you'd have these books that were like 64 pages, and you'd have like something like 30 stories that were like 1 to 2 pages each, from like 30 to like 35. This is still before DC came out.
Yeah, but they
35.
finished. I mean, the clock always had the bad guy at the end of the episode.
For the most part, yes, most of them did finish. There were some that were cut off at a certain point without finishing, but for the most part, you're right. Most of them finished. And then when you get into the late 30s, the individual page count turned for the story, because like I told you at the very beginning, it was like 30 stories at about 1 to 2 pages each. But by, let's say, 38, where I'm at now, depending upon the type of anthology it is, like for the action adventure anthologies, you had 7 or 8 stories that probably were about, on average, about 8 to 9 pages, while more of the slice of life reprint type stuff was still like 14, like maybe in the mid-teens.
Yeah, and being serialized.
Stories with about an average of 4 to 5 pages.
What
back to the
would
numbers you were talking about in 1940 there. While I don't know what the sales numbers were in 38 up through August of, what I can tell you, and probably a little bit more, those numbers are somewhat interesting in that when you're talking about like as of through August of 38, you had at the time 8 publishers publishing a grand total of 25 books. And at that point, DC wasn't even the predominant publisher at that point yet. Centaur was with 8 books. They were publishing 8 monthly books, plus an occasional one-off here and there, followed by Dell with 5, and then DC with 4, David McKay with 3.
So, Mike, what if somebody was wanting to look at these books? Which books would be reader friendly that they could jump in and kind of look at these old books? Because sometimes there's people intimidated. Oh, these are old books, so I might not get it or whatever. What book would you recommend? Say, hey, try this anthology, and try it out.
There are a number of anthologies, because again, a lot of the anthologies, there are some like feature funnies from Quality Comics, which we're doing. Now, what you have to remember too is that you still at this point in 38 had a lot of anthologies like I'd say Famous Funnies is one that was done by Eastern Color. That's one of the stories that we kind of read a couple of issues on was Roy Powers, Boy Scout. But I would say, I don't know if there's any one particular anthology I could per se recommend. I would say more of the anthologies that have more of the reprint stuff might be more considered more reader friendly. There's not as much adult material or much, risque adult material. You still have stories like Ella Cinders and Ella Cinders reprints in Tip Top Comics for night features, or like some of the stuff like Lollapalooza and Joe Palooka and Mickey Finn in feature funnies at this point.
But you didn't even know everything about those characters though before jumping in. You jumped in. It's like, what's this Lollapalooza? Oh, it's her, and oh, it's a funny thing because they did a joke kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like you feel like you need to know something about a character before you jump into a book series that's been going on for years and years. And I talked to I mentioned that the book was done in one. And now it's like dragged out over 6 months to a year because they're writing for the trade, or they've got this, ungovernable, and the editor's giving them free reign. I mean, Tom King was supposed to write Batman for 100 issues, one story. That's just editorial malpractice to allow that.
Yeah, but to be fair, look at who it happened to. I mean.
Yeah, but I say that, and at the same time, the same things happen to our television, and we love it. You sit down and watch an episode of something, and you watched an episode, and it was pretty much over, unless it was a soap opera and it was billed as a soap opera. That's fine. But now, what's more, what's very popular, the stuff you binge, the stuff that's like, it's long form storytelling. It's like you watch the entire season. The season ends on a cliffhanger. And you got to wait for them to drop the next whole season of something. And there's no one episode of Daredevil. There's no one episode of WandaVision that you can just jump in and say, oh, that was nice. Maybe I'll watch the rest of it sometime. Because you don't know what happened before, and you don't know what's going to happen after. It doesn't ever really happen.
I don't mind a few shows like that, but I do find it annoying that everything's that way, because we need more things where I'm having a bad night. I like this show. It was funny. Let's watch an episode or two. And okay, yeah, there's some stories and some plot that continue from season to season, even in episodic shows, because people age, people move in, people move out, that kind of stuff. But flow, where you can enjoy the story and still not have to be there constantly. Because even with a lot of my sci-fis in the 90s and early 2000s, I went insane when I went to Job Corps, because I came back and I didn't know what happened in any of them by that point, because there were so many things that were actually critical to the plot long term that happened in the couple of years I was gone, that nothing was anything I could do without tracking it down,
Well, the long form is really coming from the advent of streaming technology, because if you look at the 90s, you had all these these sitcoms like Seinfeld, X-File.
Friends had a long-running story, but you had complete story chapters.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand them.
but
still,
if Mike is working properly, it's exactly what we were talking
What?
about.
I think you're right in chat. Try turning your camera off. It might help you, because sometimes it takes up less bandwidth.
All right. I'll give that a whirl. Just give me a second, guys.
I think we've tried that before.
Like when
that wasn't the button. I don't think you meant.
Wrong button.
Okay.
But,
device not connected.
Like you go back to some of the early issues of Action Comics, right? And RJ was with me when we did Action Comics #1, I believe.
Where Superman actually killed gangsters.
You so a lot of the Superman stories were more episodic. You know, the first two were kind of connected. From issues 1 to 2. The Zatara feature was episodic. Chuck Dawson was episodic. Tex Thompson even was more or less episodic, even though in the early days he had, I think it was something like through the first 15 issues, he had 3 multi-issue story arcs. The first one was when he first met up with his first recurring enemy of the Gora. And the one I'm coming up on pretty soon here is Double Trouble, where he goes up against Captain Diablo, and then there's another one, another three issue arc where he's dealing with Dr. Kitchung's ape army, and that was, of course, one of the common older tropes of the idea of implanting a human brain into an ape. So you did have, for the most part, you go back. See, one of the things about those older anthologies from like the Golden Age in particular is that they were more episodic. It wasn't like what RJ's talking about there, where you have this long story arc or you have these like 4 issues. They were, for the most part, they were more episodic.
Yeah. And you still get that with the few sitcoms that do still exist. You still get some of that, but we've gone so much in books, in comic books, and TV away from that. And I actually really appreciated the episodic era because it was something where you didn't have to have unlimited time, unlimited resources to sit around and track every piece down and watch it and see or read every piece. You could pick something up and read part of it in the middle and go, wow, that was incredible, and be done with it. And I will actually go back to, again, one of the things that started the Phantom Menace movement and all those was before even Last Jedi, there was the Ghostbusters 2016, there was the Wrinkle in Time. Well, Wrinkle in Time books is a good example of this. There were 5 books in that series. There was an entire series of young adult books based on their children, the generation next, that were part of that series. Pretty much every single book in that series, because of how they pieced them together, even though they told this long, complex story, could actually be read on its own without getting lost. You weren't tied into every single book in order to read one. You could pick up A Wind in the Door and read about what happened to Charles Wallace without being confused about what happened in A Wrinkle in Time. And that kind of storytelling where you can still have some complexity but not alienate new viewers and new customers, I think is kind of lost.
It's a lost art. I don't know.
We haven't heard from Chris
It's
in a
definitely.
while. I don't know if he has anything he'd like to add to the conversation here.
No, to be honest, I'm messing with my green screen stuff. I'm listening.
Your green screen is awesome.
Trust me, I've been noticing your stuff keeps changing and screwing around.
I just noticed the counter and realizing that, oh crap, it's Sunday. I actually have to work in the morning. We've been going at this for 2 hours and 52 minutes. So
to be fair, I've only been going at it 50 minutes.
That just goes to show you again, when you take some time off, look at what happened. We got into some pretty lively conversation.
I think so.
Well, I showed up too. I never keep things tame.
No. It was almost a dead party, and then you walked in the door, and
I don't know.
the burlesque music came on, and we're ready to go.
She got here, but she definitely, she definitely seems to be a bit of a firecracker.
I'm very much into nerd stuff too, and I'm passionate on my nerd stuff.
As I'm sure
All
everybody
very
here
good
is.
things.
I don't know, Hero Shack. There, hey Chris, have I been a firecracker? Am I argumentative?
Sometimes. But that's a positive,
awesome.
right? I mean, it's a spice of life.
Yeah, you can have arguments with people and not walk away hating them.
Did we ever unblock each other,
discussions.
Chris?
I think I've got you unblocked, but I did it quietly because your husband was mad at me one time. So I was like, yeah, I'll just quietly unblock.
He's a little protective. We'll just put it that way.
I get that. But RJ's right, man. I gotta like go to sleep too. I forgot. Like it's been weird because I was off for Christmas and now for New Year, and the weekends are going to be 2 day again.
And now they're torturing us, saying, "Yeah, that was temporary, guys. You got to come back now."
Yeah.
So
I'm sure a lot of you kind of wish you were on the West Coast right now, where I'm at, where it's only hitting about 8 o'clock here.
Oh man,
I'm in Central Time and I'm good here with that. But no, I mean, I get what you guys are saying. I mean, okay, I work for myself, but yet my boss is still a slave driving OCD bitch from hell, so I don't know what that means.
it's CDO, not OCD, CDO. It's like OCD, but the letters are in the right order as they should be.
Credit on demand.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
You guys
I'm gonna call it.
are
Guys, thank you so much for popping in here. And
RJ, can I have a couple minutes with you after the stream?
Yeah, you can have a couple. And just goes great conversation. Glad to have you all here. Everybody in the chat, so glad that you stuck around. We had a great turnout tonight. I don't know if you're just teasing me and you're all going to go away because I'm supposed to be the least watched channel on all of the YouTube. And I say Comicsgate even though it's like just crowdfunded comics. I'm the least
I
watched.
think I've become that because of how little I've been able to stream the last several months.
Well, that's different.
Mine are kind of dead now.
if you don't stream a whole bunch, that's okay. You know, when you stream every night and you know nobody's watching, you just kind of own it. So yeah, you want your campaign to move downward? I can get you some refunds if you come on my show.
Hey,
RJ,
did Mr.
you're
Hops
awesome.
work out? He's there. How's his audio?
There we go. Is my audio a little bit better, guys?
It's still
It is better with the
There we
camera off.
go.
It's still crackly, but not as bad.
Your audio sounds like
Perfect,
mine
guys.
does whenever the cable in the back of my mic is a little loose.
Yeah.
I'm running with a USB microphone right now. It should be.
Yeah, and that's what I got, a
It's
USB
because the
microphone, but
wireless
it plugs in
internet.
on both ends. So it's
Yeah, it's the internet. I'm on wireless. Plus, I'm going through my
Okay.
phone. So
Well,
it's
there
like
you
this
go.
is to be expected.
sucks.
Well, let's just say goodnight to everybody then, right? So we can have a
Yes.
few minutes to BS
Good night,
and all go our
everybody.
separate ways.
Good night,
Sure.
everybody. Thank you for
Good
showing up. We
night.
don't have a show
Good
without
night.
you. And as always, we just hope you had a blast.